Happy Friday, everyone. Welcome to A Stitch in Crime. I almost got really embarrassed there. The mic was not on. I'm so glad it says it at the top. It says, "Hey, your mic is on mute. Thank you very much." We're good now. We're good now, right? Uh, oh dear. Oh dear. Oh dear. It wouldn't be me. It wouldn't be me, you guys. Hello, Bree. Crafty Annie is here. I hope you're feeling better, doing well. Denny Beneni. Sandy Michaels, good to see you. Uh, Lots of itching going on from the incisions. Yes. Oh, that's aggravating. Aggravating, but at least it won't be for long. That won't last too long. Yes, everybody wants to know, Bree, what are you making with your yarn? What are you making with your yarn? Hi, Lorna. Good to see you. Mary Webb is here. Woo woo. And Frozen's here. Yay. Gang's coming in. Here come the gang. Oh, there's more. There's more. Donna Castle. Hello. Joan's here. Okay, we're good. Joan's here. You're walking around. Awesome. Don't overdo it. Oh, look who's here. That is the night owl. Oh, Karen. Hello. Night owl. That is Adele, isn't it? Good to see you. Colleen is here. Ooh, everybody's coming in. Y'all, did you watch? Have you been watching Alec on the Stand? Anybody? Has anybody been watching? Jeffrey, did you watch? Hello to you. Your hair looks great. Hi, Sharon. How are you tonight? Everybody's been watching? Oh my gosh. Creighton Waters is a rock star. Can I just say? He's a rock star. I got a new sign. You guys, you saw that I had the new sign the other day. Guess what? We got it put up. What you think? You like it? Y'all like my new sign? Telling you to calm down? I know, but oh my gosh. Waters was a rock star. The night from the sheriff? Oh, okay. Okay, the footage that came out. Yes. Yeah, I took down the live girls sign. That's what Stephen called it. He called it the live girls. So Mr. Fiber is putting that in the music room. Yeah, the mouth noises. We're going to talk about that too. Yep, we are. I'm so glad you're here, Adele. That is awesome. And hello to all of you who are watching and lurking. I'm so glad you are here too. All right, what have I got going? You guys, we may be here for more than an hour. My lives have been going a little bit longer now that I'm feeling better. I've got my New Orleans cup today. Nolans. We got regular coffee. And French vanilla. And I'm double fisting today because I've got this cup, got my ice, and my Sprite. You like my cowl? I finished putting it together and making it into a cowl. Does that sound good? How was the sound on that? Could I do AMSR? And if I did AMSR, what would you guys like? Oh, that sound, right? So, double fisting my drinks. Oh, Denny, you love your yarn. I'm so glad you love it. I am so glad you got the fingering weight yarn, right? It's really pretty. Okay, Karen, she's working, y'all. Y'all be nice. She's trying to get something done. So knitting needles, an AMSR of clicking of the, I thought about that. Knitting needles would be fun. You got a Shirley Temple? Oh my gosh, I have a story about Shirley Temples. You know I got stories. Sandy says he lied about everything. Yay! That's awesome, Jeffrey. Oh, okay. She's gonna be lurking and hooking and lurking. That's quite all right, Maureen. You ask any questions and somebody in the chat will probably have an answer. So this was Amber hand dyed this, and it was a sock blank, and I stitched it together. So it was a sock blank in that it had 2 strands. It came off of a knitting machine. Hey, farm gal, how you doing? I'm so glad you're here. Yay. Sandy Grog, hey, come on in. Denise R, hey, good to see you. Chelsea's here too. Whoop, whoop. Hi, Chels. Come on in, everybody. So, Amber dyed this sock blank. And I finally stitched the ends together and then stitched them to each other. Isn't it pretty though? So pretty. And it is sparkle too. In case you can't, wait, there, see, it's sparkle. I love it. I've been saying ever since I bought this from her that it will probably never be socks, that I will probably only wear it as a cowl. And now it is. Now it's a cowl. Turned out really, really, really pretty. Okay, let's get my hands in here. I do not have my overhead on because when my overhead is on, you can't really see my on-air light. And you know what? I think it just looks really cool having the backlights down and the on-air light. I've got my spotlight on me over here. Feeling really Friday night-ish, isn't it? Is it feeling Friday night-ish? So here we go. Hang on. There we go. Really crimey. Yes. I'm still working on my hat and in my crocheted, this is that canvas bag. This is the Naughty knitting sack. This is now the sack that I put in my purse to take with me whenever we go somewhere. And it's got my favorite knitting needles. And I'm finishing up not too much farther on this washcloth. And then when I finish that one, I have these two. in my bag, so I won't run out of yarn. I've got that, and then I don't have a darning needle in here, but I have a pair of scissors in here. And that way I can just cut and go on to the next one. And it's the skeletons inside of this one. So we got that, and then I'm working on I'm almost to the point now where I can put my paws on the hat. It's really close. Very, very close to getting to the point where I can put the paws on there. Really soon. I've also got my snacks over here, y'all. I'm here for the long run. I've got my crackers, my is it s'mores? Is this one the s'mores? Chocolate chip, chewy. I'm all set with snacks. Got 2 drinks. Yeah, we're set to go. What are y'all sipping on tonight? Sandy's working on the sweater back, top part, and then can put it together. Oh, that's awesome. Oh, Joan's on the second sock. Yes. Woohoo. Sharon, are you about done with that? The bobbins? Sandy's doing the heel flap. Oh, you guys are doing stuff. You're doing stuff. Okay, what was the other one? Somebody else was doing something there. Okay, maybe I missed it. No, that's not the same Donna. This is Donna Castle. When Donna comes in, Denny, she comes in as Hurley's hand dyed. No, she comes in as Crystal Sky's hand dyed. And when Amber comes in, she comes in as Hurley's hand dyed. Just so y'all know which is which. Blanket number 5. Lady Gray. Good stuff. I love all the grays. The lady and the Earl. Okay. So I'm just going to go run through my notes for you guys, okay? We're going to just run through some of what I got out of the last 2 days with Alec Murdaugh on the stand, okay? And then we can go into talking about some other stuff. So here's what I got. Right off the bat, Alec's own lawyer asked him, his own lawyer said, Alec Murdaugh, did you kill your wife, Maggie? Alec Murdaugh, did you take in this gun or any of these guns and kill your son, Paul? Blah, 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 blah. So he asked him these questions right out of the gate. Jim did. And Alex says, no, I did not hurt. But okay, hold on, because I got to do this. What you guys need to pay attention. I'm going to give you my thoughts, okay? Because he said, no, while shaking his head, yes, this is important, you guys. It's important. At 8:44, he says that he was at the kennels. Now he tells us he was at the kennels. That he lied to SLED, and he was at the kennels. He was there when that kennel video was being made. He was there. He blames his lying on his paranoid addiction. Now, I'm calling it a paranoid addiction because he's addicted. He claims to be addicted to opioids, and he claims that he had paranoid moments. And I'm calling it his paranoid addiction. He had some sort of a clicking thing going on with his mouth. And for one thing, you guys, Whenever someone lies the way as much as he lies, they have a dry mouth. Very dry mouth. He also was doing a lot of expressive movements with his arms, okay? Very expressive. He's trying to convince you with his arm movements. Oh. And he says, I'm sorry. He says, I'm sorry to everyone. To his brother Randy, to his brother John, to his son Buster, to everybody. He says, I'm sorry to Maggie, and I'm sorry to Paul. Now, again, I'm giving you my opinion. That is a confession. My opinion. And he would not do it intentionally. Well, what the F does that mean? Either you would do it or you wouldn't do it, whether it was intentional or whether it wasn't intentional. You would either do it or you wouldn't do it. There is no, I wouldn't do it intentionally. So this is moving blame away from himself. And then there is, well, once I told the lie, I just had to keep lying. I told the lie. I've convinced myself is what this means. This means I have convinced myself that this is what happened, and I'm going to keep telling this story. Now, you guys, I have learned a little bit about body language. And one of the things with this whole mouth thing going on is distaste. It's like having a nasty taste in your mouth. And right now, he really hates being on the stand and having to do this. That is a distaste for what he's having to do. Serves is getting his toys. Did you guys notice that his face begins to relax when he is telling a story? It relaxes. Because storytelling is when Alec Murdaugh is the most comfortable. Okay, Jeffrey, good night to you. He starts the pet names. Yes, Chelsea, he's calling Paul. And I had to play around with that and say, what is it he's saying? And I think what he's saying is Paul. Like Paul's name twice, not Papa or Popo or anything Paul, or it's Paul. It's just because of his Southern accent, the way that he says it. It's Paul. And he calls Maggie Mags. And he starts calling Buster Bus. And he's calling Roden Row. And all the pet names came out. All of them. Now, when he is really trying to pull up the emotions, his face pinches together. And he's trying so hard to pull all that emotion out. His face all pinches all up. Okay. And when he's trying to cry, he wants to hide. If you watch all of the videos and stuff where he does his interviews, he tries to look away, he tries to look down, all of those things. He doesn't want to be looking at anybody or looking at the camera when he's crying or trying to cry. Now, he says he was at the shop. This is yesterday. Says he was at the shop and Maggie pulled through. Now, my thoughts are, You know how they found those footprints down at the shop? They found footprints, and they were Maggie's footprints. So if she came through down at the shop when she got there, did she get out and they walked around and they argued maybe? Is this a possibility? Maybe they did a little arguing and then Maggie went up to the house? And then he says that she went to the house and then he went to the house. And he left Paul at the shop. And he says after he got to the house, he took a shower. And that the clothes that he had on in that Snapchat video, okay, the one where he's messing with the tree and Paul is laughing, it's the one that Paul took, the first one that they showed. He said those are the clothes that he wore to work that day. Now, if you remember, there has been a question about that because Blanca said that is not what he had on. Those were not the clothes that he wore. That he wore some sort of a Billy Vine shirt or Billy Vine or Vinnie Vine. I don't know how to say it. Hey, Darcia. And he tried to tell her, and there was a little bit of that today. They did talk about that a little bit today, but he tried to tell her that she was mistaken about what he was wearing. And today he said, no, he says, I didn't try to tell her what to say. He said, someone had asked me, and so I needed to ask her if she remembers what I wore. That is not what she said happened. Hi, Rosie. So he said after he showered, he changed into that shirt and shorts that we see in all the videos. And he said he didn't go up to the kennels right away after Maggie and Paul went to the kennels. That he didn't go right away. That he said that Maggie wanted him to go down there, but there was a lot of times when she would ask him to do something and he wouldn't do it right away. So he didn't go right away. He went a little bit later. So now I'm wondering, okay, so we had time to go and get the guns then. Between the time that they left and he went down to the kennels was plenty of time to go to the gun room and get the guns. Now, he says he rode the golf cart down to the kennels and back. And that after the chicken incident, y'all, he said, I got out of there. That was a very odd statement. So what happened after the chicken? I got out of there. Why would you say that? That is very strange. And I got out of there and went back to the house. That was very, very strange to me. He says he dozed for a few minutes and then he decided to go see his mom. And he says Maggie didn't like to go to his mom's because it was kind of depressing, that she was in such a bad state, that most of the time she didn't know everybody, and it was very sad. And so Maggie didn't like to go over there and see his mom. He said that she really liked going to see his dad, but that she didn't like to go see his mom. And he was asked, why didn't you go back to the kennels? And he said there was no reason to go down there. Right? Because they were dead and you knew they were dead. Why would you go back down there? No reason to go down there if they're dead, right? That's me adding that. He was not asked that. He says that when he stopped at his parents' drive on I don't know how much of you guys have seen of the footage from the GM OnStar stuff and the phone records and stuff. But he says when he stopped at his mom's house, it's because he had dropped his phone in between the console and the seat. And when it goes there, you have to stop because you can't just reach down in there and get it out, blah, blah, blah. That's what he says happened. And then he says when he got back to the house, he went to the gun room and was looking for Maggie. You think maybe he was putting guns away? Maybe possibly he was putting guns away at this point? But he said he was looking for Maggie because he kept it really cold in there, and she liked to go and sit in the chair in the gun room and watch TV because it wasn't so cold in the gun room. And then he drove to the kennels, and now, you guys, there's been all this stuff about what did he say? Did he say they did him so bad, or I did him so bad, blah, blah, blah? That big controversy about what it was, right? Well, he makes it a point in his testimony yesterday to say that he drove down to the kennels, and when he saw them, it was so bad. It was so bad. He just had to say it again. And he jumped out of the car, and then he ran back to 911. Okay, well, wouldn't you go check on them? How many of us would come up on that scene, and we'd come up, we'd see them, and we'd get out and we'd look, and then we'd call 911. We'd go see. We would need to go find out. Are they okay? What the hell has happened? Right? Who does that? But no, he gets back in the car and calls 911. And he says that he did go after he was on the phone with 911. He goes over to Paul, and again he says he was so bad. So he's throwing all that in there because he knows. He says he checked for a pulse, okay? And the way he said that he did this was that he grabbed him by his belt loop to kind of pull him over, and that's when Paul's phone came out of his pocket. And then when he touched Maggie, that he touched her somewhere around her waist. He wasn't really sure where he touched Maggie, but he thinks it was somewhere around her waist. Well, you guys, I think the reason he says things this way is to help indicate that when he touched them, there was no chance of him getting blood on him. Okay? That's what I think. And I'm going to tell you something else. And again, my opinion, this is what I see when I heard him say this. This is what this meant to me. He said that, all right. Oh shoot, where's my mouse? Y'all, I've lost my mouse. Sometimes it goes away. But this was yesterday, at the end of yesterday's testimony, right before they ended. He said, I touched Maggie several times. I touched Paul twice. Did you guys hear what I heard? Here's what I heard. I shot Maggie several times. I shot Paul twice. Because, as we know, that is the evidence. The evidence is that Maggie was shot several times and Paul was shot twice. Just saying. Just saying. If you listen, he is telling you what happened. You heard the same thing, Denny? I'm glad it wasn't just me. I'm like, oh, there you are. There you are. That's, like I said, that's the confession. He's telling you exactly what happened. So day 2. So day 2 was today, day 2 of him on the stand. And I could go into a lot of it, but basically what Waters did was that Waters brought up the fact that Alec is a schmuck. He's a sleazy, lying, conniving schmuck. That he stole everybody's money, that he looked them in the eye and stole their money while trying to say that they're friends and that he cares about them. And that was a lot of what went on in the first part of the testimony today. Then we get back to, again, he says that after he and Paul rode around, and he got a little testy. Did you guys notice how testy he got? About the hogs? No, they didn't have any guns with them. He got a little testy. And he says he left Paul at the shop and that he went back to the house. He said that Maggie had come by on her way up to the house. And he says that he talked to her before he got in the shower. And that it was a little after 8. He says Paul finished eating first before they did. And then he went somewhere. He doesn't know if he went down to the kennels. All he knows is that he wasn't with them and that they were sitting down, that he was sitting on the couch. Maggie was sitting with a tray and they were eating and they were talking about Paul. He doesn't know how Maggie and Paul got to the kennels. And now on today's testimony, he says he never talked to Maggie about her going with him to his mom's. See, now that's important because, of course, we know that he called her and asked her to come over. We have testimony from Maggie's sister on that. And I sure as hell would believe Maggie's sister over Alec Murdaugh. Yeah, he took from a paraplegic. Sure did. He sure did. Hey, Kat. Glad to see ya. Oh, there's a lot of that one. A lot of it. Absolutely. Now, the next part of his testimony was in relation to the kennel video. Okay. So it was Creighton Waters is getting him more narrowed down around what was going on around the kennel video, because now we know, now that he's been on the stand and he said that he was there. Well, let's talk about that, right? Welcome back, Bree. So he said that when he got down to that he rode the golf cart down to the kennels, and that when he got there, he was sitting on the golf cart and talking to Maggie, and that Paul, when he got there, Paul was on the walkway outside of the kennel. He didn't know he was in the kennel, and he didn't know he was taking that video, because when he got there, he said he was on the walkway. That Bubba, the dog, came up and had the chicken, and he went in. Oh, he was very sharing about the chicken and how the dog would come up, like me telling one of my chat stories for a while. And that went on and on and on about the chicken and the dogs. And that he took the chicken from Bubba and he laid it on that box, which was in the picture. We saw pictures of the chicken on the box. That's where he laid it. And that, no, the chicken wasn't dead, but later on it did die. And that he got on the golf cart and he left. However, all the things that he remembers from all this other testimony, and somehow he absolutely cannot remember anything that he talked about and any of the conversations that he had with them. This is the last time he saw these people, his family, and he does not remember any of the conversations, any of it. And I don't know if you guys noticed him, he started to sweat. This whole scratching, getting itchy, that sweat, he was starting to sweat and he was itching, scratching his face. And he said that he left, and that's right at the time that they died, by the way. Supposedly right after he leaves on the golf cart is when they get shot. And conveniently, that's when he starts to sweat. And he's obviously lying. Now, if I'm wrong when this is all over with and something else ever comes out about it, y'all, we're going to meet back here and we'll talk about it. But right now, from what I see, this is what I think. Okay? Because I'm trying to look at this as if I were a juror. That's what I'm trying to do. Now, it's difficult to do that given the fact that I have seen a lot of things that the jurors who are on the case probably have not seen. And I don't know that for a fact either, because I know that during the picking of the jury, they were asked a lot of questions, and a lot of them said they had heard podcasts and watched documentaries and yada, yada. And they, how many of them were picked for the jury, I couldn't tell you. And when we get farther along and into deliberation, I know that the media will give us a breakdown. Once, if they, as much as they know, they will say, well, we have so many women, we have so many men, and any information that they know about this, the media will tell us what they know. People who are in the courthouse and stuff like that all will come out. Oh, is Katie here? Hey, Katie. If you touch someone who was shot and you have blood on you, like your finger or your hand, wouldn't you wipe your hands off on something? Yes. Yes, you would. So he says after all this happens, he gets on the golf cart and he leaves. Got to get out of there. Remember, I got to get out of there. He left and he was back at the house by 8:49. Now, at this point, Creighton Waters is going through the timeline. He has started to test him on the timeline. And he says, okay, so you're back at the house by 8:49? And he says, yeah. He says, okay, so then what did you do? Well, he says he sat on the couch and he dozed. And Waters says, well, it's interesting because your phone starts to make some sort of movement at 9:02. He says that he has told law enforcement that he thought that he heard Maggie and Paul come back. And he also tells law enforcement that he heard a cat, that there's this feral cat that, is always around the house, and that he heard it. And I think that was meant to make law enforcement, SLED and all of them think that he heard something going on down there, but he didn't think anything of it, and he actually just left. So, interestingly, then there's a break, a very hard break right in the middle of this by the judge. And y'all, when this happens, I'm pretty convinced the judge just decides whenever he needs a break, they're taking a break. Like maybe the judge needed to pee or something. That's kind of what I think. And I look over at Alec, and he's doing the whole thing with his chair. He's going, leaning the chair all the way back on its axis. That's not somebody who's worried about getting in trouble for murder on the stand. Leaning back in the chair, like, I got this. Obviously relieved that we're taking a break. That if nothing else, we're relieved it's a break time. Crazy. Okay, somebody said something about a blanket over her head. That's another valid point, Joan. You'd be trying to do CPR on them. A juror who put a blanket over her head. I know that the judge has been very, he has kept an eye on this jury. And whenever he thinks that the jury needs a break, is about the time they take it also. So it's not just the judge that needs one. He also does things like, all right, let's all stand up. Move around, he sees jurors that are yawning, starting to doze off a little bit. We're going to stand up, take a little break. He's been keeping a pretty close eye on this. I like him. I like him so far. I don't have any reason not to like him either. I haven't heard anything about this judge. I've had somebody said a couple things in the chat about him, but I don't know anything about any of the other stuff that he might have been, any other cases that he's been over or whatever. So speaking of the timeline, you guys, Alex's phone shows that he is at the house. So at least his phone was at the house from 8:09 to 9:02 with no movement. So Creighton asked him, well, did you leave your phone at the house? Oh, I must have. Okay. Do you normally leave your phone? Well, if I'm just going down to go do something like that, yeah. If I'm going to do this, more oversharing. So that was on purpose. Anytime it's on purpose or we're lying or whatever, we get lots of oversharing. Paul's phone was shown to be at the house at 8:08. So, Alec is saying he got to the house before Paul. Not according to the records. Alex says he left Paul at the shop after they went riding around, and he went back up to the house. So how did Paul get there before he did? That's kind of suspicious right there. There was no explanation for that. And then Waters brings up the fact that Maggie's phone disconnects from her Mercedes and that it stays and that the steps begin at 8:17. Now, Alec had said that she got to the house before they did. So why does her phone disconnect at 8:17? I can tell you that it is possible that a phone will stay connected when a person is inside. If the car and the phone are in close enough proximity, they may not disconnect right away. So we have to keep that in mind. It wasn't brought up, but I know that to be true because my daughter here, her husband's phone will connect and he's in the house, and it frustrates her because she goes to get in the car and her phone won't connect because his is connecting. So I know that this is true. But that was brought up. So it was interesting in the timeline anyway. And then at 8:38, Paul's phone is shown at the kennels. At No, 8:38. So Paul has already gone back to the kennels. And at 8:55 is the kennel video. At 8:49 is when Paul and Maggie's phones lock for the final time. They're locked. Not open again. At around 8:49 and something. So law enforcement has said that they feel that Paul and Maggie died somewhere around 8:50. But at 8:53, Maggie's phone takes steps. Who's got the phone? Between 9:02 and 9:06, Alec takes steps. Now his phone's moving. And that's 4 minutes, and it's 283 steps, but he cannot tell what he was doing, except he was getting ready to go to his mom's. Was he gathering up all of the clothes and the guns and all of the stuff, like in the blue tarp, the blue jacket, to take to his mom's? Possibly 4 minutes. 4 minutes would be enough time for that. Because he knew Maggie's password. He did not know Paul's password. Paul's phone would not do him any good because he didn't know his password. He knew he couldn't get into it. He thought he could get into Maggie's. And then I'm thinking he decided instead to throw it because it would be more convincing if he threw her phone out the window. Or he opened it and looked at it and needed it to confirm what he was going to tell everybody and then threw the phone. Those are some of the possibilities. But he could not get into Paul's. He picked Paul's phone up and then put it back on his rear end. But he couldn't get into it. Oh, he said that, but It's what I think. I don't have any evidence for that, but it's what I think. What do you guys think? Oh, did you watch Emily? I could not watch. I've been watching Emily Baker. However, I could not watch her because I couldn't handle her talking at the same time. I wanted to watch Alec and make my own decision as to his body language and what was going on. And she was telling us the stuff that was going on with the lawyers and all that stuff. I couldn't. It was too much. Yes. So the Netflix series has now dropped. I have watched one, and I know I wasn't going to watch it, but I can't help myself. I've watched 1.5 episodes, so I haven't gotten very far, and I haven't seen a whole lot of anything that's new. However, supposedly there is some drone footage, and in the drone footage, it shows Buster and all the law partners taking guns out of the gun room. So I'm looking forward to seeing that part of it. Where'd you go, Bubby? Time is it? We've got about 10 minutes before the you know what. Yes, and hello, Teresa. Oh. Yeah. I know. I had to laugh when he stood up there and put his hand on the Bible and all that shit, because it was like, he's going to lie. Just because people take an oath doesn't mean they don't lie. Just saying. Doesn't mean they don't lie. Did I miss any questions for me or anything you guys wanted my opinion on or, Do you guys want to look at the timeline? It would be very long, but if you wanted to look at it, we could do it. Yeah. Especially now that he has lied about what he was actually doing on that night. He's lied. And now we know he's lied because he came on the stand and said he lied. Okay, Colleen, I really think that he had both guns. And you know how they were showing the angle on that shot? I feel like he might have gone after he shot Paul. Paul was coming out. He went to put the other gun down, and Paul started to come out of the room, and he pulled up with the other gun and shot him with the other gun. That's my theory, and it fits with what Mr. Bevel said. Of course, we do assume because I'm really no expert on anything. It's all just my opinion, and it's just interesting stuff, right? They start with the boating accident. What happened afterward? Okay. Does that not sound plausible, though, to you guys? Theory-wise? Let's hope the jury thinks so, too. But, the jury is going to be able to sit with a lot of things. They're going to be able to sit with that timeline. I've not taken the time to sit and look at the timeline, really. But I felt like Mr. Bevel he did a great job when he laid out what they did. He was the guy that did the reconstruction. And I want to tell you guys something else. We're going to move away from Murdaugh for just a minute, okay? I want to tell you about something local that we're going to talk about here really soon. There's a case that is going on in Wichita Falls, and they're moving this case, they're moving the trial, and they're going to have it in the Fort Worth, Texas area. Now, let me get some information for you. There's a little boy. And I don't want to put out pictures and all that kind of stuff. I'm just going to give you a little bit of an overview, okay? But they're starting Monday, they're going to start they're going to start picking jurors. No, they've been picking jurors. They're going to start testimony on Monday. It started with the little boy at the time was 2 years old. His name was Jason Wilder McDaniel. He was found unresponsive on October 11th of 2018. And the person who is going to be on trial is James Irvin Staley III. Okay? He is accused of murdering Wilder at his country club area home in the 2000 block of Irving Place. Chels told me about this. That's in the country club area, Chels? I'm trying to remember where Irving Place is. How close to that's got to be close to the college. Staley, who is now 40 years old, is an Oklahoma businessman from Wichita Falls, and he is facing life in prison. He's pled not guilty, and he was free Tuesday from the Wichita County Law Enforcement Center on a $1.25 million bond. So, they have to place a 10% on that. So, y'all, whatever it is. Irving Place. I'll have to look that up. Irving Place in Country Club. Not sure where that's at. I know where Country Club is, but I'm not sure where that is. So Wilder's parents are Amber and Robert Bubba McDaniel Jr. Now, Robert Bubba McDaniel Jr. is an MMA fighter from Wichita Falls. Okay. Now, she is facing charges as well in this. And Staley, who is on trial for it, his father was chief of police. So this is going to be quite interesting of a case. And I will give you guys more on that one when I sit down and start digging into it. And the trial will start next week. So we're going to talk more. Yes, I know. I'm getting eyeballs over here. Yes, can I help you? How did they know what time it is, you guys? I'll be right back. I will be right back. We're going to go do the whole thing and I'll come back, okay? Y'all get you something to drink or something. I'll be right back. Okay, where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Go get it. Go get it. Go find it. Where is it? Come on. All right. We got that done. Ooh, I stepped on a sticker. Y'all, we have so many stickers out here. Oh. Okay, what is Denny? Will it be televised? Okay, I don't think that they've made a decision on it yet. In one of the articles I read, they said they had not made a decision about whether that would be televised. I know, Teresa. I know. So you're crocheting it, Rosie? Gosh, I had that somewhere. I had a chart somewhere, Rosie, but I don't know where it is. Don't know how far out it has reached. Yeah, I imagine next week it will actually go farther, Chelsea, especially being in the Fort Worth area. It is going to be very, very interesting, Lorna. It is going to be because, for one thing, the mother, she was being abused. And as much as I feel for her, you know how I feel about domestic violence. She really should have left before she did. So she is going to have to pay, unfortunately, for being neglectful, at least. But we will get into what her charges are. And we'll wait and see how much she cooperates. But there were some texts that came out, and it was texts that were coming back and forth between the killer and between this guy and her. It's a twisted tale, of course. You know, she was with this guy and then she was with the other guy, and the child was Bubba's. She had been with Bubba. She got left Bubba and then went to go with this other guy, and the child was Bubba's. Well, the other guy killed their son. Now she went back to Bubba, and Bubba is standing by her. And it's twisted. It's another twisted tale. For a lap GAN would be 105. I was thinking more like 150 for a good size personal blanket, what I call a personal blanket, where you have it to tuck down next to you, and then you'll make it long enough to go over your feet and up to your chin. That is exactly right. That is exactly right. We want to see justice for the victims. Ah, the thistle stitch. I don't think I've tried the thistle stitch yet. It sounds like a tongue twister, though. Should we have a snack, y'all? Peanut butter crackers. I know somebody's having one over there. He's definitely having one back there. Did I miss any questions? Mm-hmm. Green tea. Whoa. Oh, he definitely has an internal clock. He knows when it's time for green toy. Oh, I was talking to you guys, and I looked down, and he's looking around my workbench at me going, it's time. Oh, she's got a tutorial. Okay. That sounds good. Donna's having popcorn. Any other questions? Okay, so going back to the Murdaugh case, did you guys have any other comments? Like anything you wanted to add to what I've laid out for you today? I know that towards the end of his cross-examination by Waters today, he drilled him hard. So you lied about this. So you lied about that. And you lied about this. And you lied about that. And you lied about everything. You looked at everybody. You lied to everybody. And you lied to us. And you lied to SLED. And you you know, it was like, wow, he gave it to him hard. It was my cowl was a sock blank. So what hand dyers will do is they will put the yarn on a knitting machine like the Addy, and they will make it into a tube. So it's a tube basically, okay? And it'll be natural color. And then they lay it out long ways, and they have the ends of it are so it's 2 strands of fingering weight yarn together, and the ends are open, and they just put it on stitch markers so that they're live. Both ends are live stitches. And then when you make socks, you can do 2 socks at a time because it's 2 strands of fingering weight yarn. And you'll just open those up and cast it onto your raw edges, and you'll cast it onto your needles, and you work the socks out of it. And I've had this forever and decided, you know what? I'm never going to make socks out of it. I'm going to make a cowl. I've been talking about making it into a cowl forever. Working on a cotton bag. I know. Waters was so crafty. He was very crafty today. Oh, he was watching every move Waters made, that guy. Oh, I'm glad you brought that up, Donna, because there was clarification after Waters. Jim came back, and Jim says, now remind us, what you've actually been charged for, which is nothing. He has charges against him, but he has not been convicted. What he did was he pled guilty to taking the money in the Gloria Satterfield case. He pled that. So he's gotten, I don't even think they've finished that yet. That's going to be coming up in other stuff. Mm-hmm. Hey, Lori. Oh, that sounds good. What's in a Moscow Mule? I don't know. The string of pearls. Is that hat? The string of pearls hat? Oh, okay. I hope you sleep well, Katie. Prepping your pineapples for canning. Sounds good. I need to do some more freeze drying. So just to be clear, and the jury has to know this because they have talked about this in court with him, and that is that he will be facing life. He's facing life for all of the financial stuff. So if he could go away for life without actually being convicted of these murders. That has to play on the jury's mind somewhere in there. Now, how much, I don't know, but somewhere in there. For me, as a juror, I would say, well, that's that. We're here for this. That's what I would do as a juror. And I would hope that the jurors also vodka and ginger beer with lime juice. Served in a copper or stainless steel mug. This sounds very refreshing. Very refreshing. No. No. We still don't know where he put all that money. Now, Waters did ask him today, because, he said he spent all this money on drugs, right? So today, Waters asked him, he said, well, how much drugs were you doing just in a given day? And of course, he's oversharing again. Well, if I was this, it all depends on how much strength there was in them, and what was going on that day, and what was this and what is. And if it was, a typical day, would having a hell of a time to get him to tell him anything. But he said basically he would do, and I meant to sit down and do that math, y'all. 1,500 grams a day divided by 30 is 50 pills a day. Oh, that's a good question. Is this a death penalty case? I think it is. Does anybody remember? Because I really think that this was a death penalty case. I want the jury to do the right thing as well. Yes, I'm looking at it from the outside, and I'm not really on the jury. So I want the jury to do the right thing based on what they see. Absolutely. I would have thought so. Because I know that you can definitely work up a tolerance, which is, he talked about that. He said, kind of like the more you use, the more you need, blah, blah, blah. I don't think so. I don't think you could do 50 a day. I think he was embellishing that amount. That's what I think. I think there was a bit of embellishment going on with that. Did they? They might have, Joan. I really don't know. I'll tell y'all when I don't know something, and I don't know. It does, and I know what that means. My grandson, Oliver, says that. Sus. It's sus. And I know what that means now. And I agree. I'm with you, Barbara. I think he's full of shit. I don't think he ever had an addiction. I think it's quite convenient. I'm glad I'm not the only one that doesn't think he ever had an addiction. Nobody knew about it. See, that's how we learn stuff. Well, I learned it, but it was very recent. I learned it very, very recently. Yeah, there we go. For those who don't know, sus means suspect. Thank you, Denny. Well, We don't have anything that says that he didn't. Supposedly, yes. Money is his addiction. There you go. That's quite possible. Well, yes, they say that Maggie and Paul had discovered it. But they're not here to tell us, are they? They are not here to tell us what they knew. And Buster didn't say anything about it. He did. Buster did. Okay, so y'all, what was Buster's really role here in getting on the stand? Can we talk about that? Because Buster got on the stand first. He was the first. Buster's getting up there. And then we got waylaid with that Alec was getting on the stand. But let's go back to Buster for a minute. I didn't take any notes that day. I'm sorry. But Buster seems just as sleazy as his dad to me. Just as sleazy. I think Buster's time is coming. I think something's going to happen. I don't think they're going to do anything right now while Alec is on trial. But I think that once this is over with, I think we're going to find out, because we haven't been told what the new evidence is for Stephen Smith. They would know how to hide it. They would. And the law firm broke up. And I don't remember, but I want to say that only one cousin is still at the new law firm, which is the Parker place. He didn't add much, no. Yeah, Dad's great, blah, 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 blah. And he lied through all of it. Okay, here's what I noticed with Buster. Did you guys notice this with the microphone? You know what that is? It's all about me. It's me. It's me. Hi. Hi, I'm Buster. Hello. What's your question? Hi, I'm Buster. Hey, it's me. All about me. That microphone, I wanted to slap his hands. Leave the microphone alone. You sound fine. All about me. Yeah, so the Stephen Smith case, there was supposedly some new information that came out during the investigation of the Alec Murdaugh stuff. But we have not heard yet. So we need to know what it is. Because I'm going to tell you guys, the thing that I am the most interested in as it relates to the Murdaughs is Stephen Smith. We need to know what happened. We're never going to know what happened with Gloria Satterfield. Again, Maggie's not here and Paul's not here. We're never going to know. I think we all know, although the children do not believe, they don't believe that she was pushed. Some people think Maggie pushed her. But there's a lot of that's just speculation. There's just really no way of knowing how Gloria Satterfield fell down the stairs. And Gloria Satterfield couldn't tell anybody. And like I said, and Maggie and Paul aren't here, so they can't tell us what happened. We know what happened in the boat case. The whole world knows what happened in the boat case. Paul wrecked the boat, Mallory died, and they're all pretty upset. It's really horrible. It's horrible. So that's 2 deaths right there. But the Stephen Smith case, so they covered it in Netflix. Did they cover the new evidence? They didn't cover the new evidence, but they covered Stephen Smith. And I haven't got to that part yet. I'm not totally convinced that Buster did not help hide evidence for Alec. Word on the street is that Buster and Stephen had something going on, and that Buster and Paul did something to Stephen. The apple doesn't fall far from the tree. Hi, Jeannie. How are you? I'm hanging out, doing my thing. So, I took a look at him up there on the stand, and some people, I've heard that some people today said something in EDAs, and that I've been hearing this in other places too, that a lot of people are talking about the fact that Buster, he has just as much to lose as Alec does. Just as much. So I think that his day is coming. I think we're going to find out things about him, and that his day is coming. I can't see how he could continue to skate along like he's skating along. Something's going to happen. Buster is not innocent, you guys. Buster, he got kicked out of law school because he was cheating. Plagiarism. It was plagiarism. And they don't like that. That's pretty serious stuff in school. I'm fixing to finish this right here. See, I got 4 more stitches to do. This is it was a sock blank, and I turned it into a cowl. I've been wondering, because has any of you listened to the jailhouse tapes where Buster was talking to his dad in jail? I need to go back and listen to those again. I think it would be good to listen to again. See, now I'm down to the 3. When I get down to 3 right here, I'm going to show you guys what I do, because I don't like it to be too pointy. I want it to be more rounded, like this end down here. And lately what I've been doing is I get it down to this 3. And then I don't try to do the decrease again. I knit these 3. But as I knit them, I do the decrease. And that helps a little bit. I leave that pretty loose, because see, it's already trying to get pointy. But if I do it like that, and you can even do that before then if you want to. They suggested they were money laundering in Vegas. Well, maybe they have some mob ties. Now, see, I pulled that through. So you can see how it kind of is going to even out. So when I tuck this in, I'm going to be able to round that corner out just a little bit. See? Yes, the podcast is called Murdaugh Murders, and it is on iHeart, and it may be also on something else. and her name is Maggie Madney or something like that. I don't know. And she is a part of a organization called Fitz News. And I don't totally agree with Fitz News platform that they have a political platform. However, her podcast is very good. Now, good night, Sandy. If you go over to Fitz News and you look up just the articles on the Murdaugh case, there's some wonderful articles there. I just don't agree with Fitz News platform. It's way too political for me, and I don't want to do politics. So I will tuck that in later. And now I will cast some other ones on from there. And I'll work on my hat. What else do you guys want to talk about? I know I usually only do an hour on Friday night, but I decided if you guys wanted to keep talking, we could keep going. Anybody want to talk about anything else? Thank you for those of you that are still here, and thank you to those that have to go. I totally understand, and I'm glad you were here. Thank you so very much for being here tonight. Yeah, it's also on YouTube. Exactly. The Murdaugh murders. And now I'm knitting. Yes. I can go over the timeline. You work at the local line? Yeah, that's good. That's tempting. That's very tempting. Let me see if I can find it. Hold on, you guys. Let me see if I can find the timeline because it would be very interesting. I believe it's on Court TV. So give me a moment. One moment, please. Look, the fiber floozie is live. Murdaugh trial timeline. Oh, it's on Law and Crime Network too, you guys. I don't think I like that one though. I'm hearing little dings. Why am I hearing little dings? Maybe that's people. Hey, Deneen. Hi, Valerie. Why am I hearing little dings? Y'all hear that? Hi, Denise. Oh, my camera. Yes, I know my camera is not connected. Here, let's unplug it. That was it. It was the camera making noise. I turned the camera off on the screen, so it started dinging. Okay. I think I'm going to do the one from Court TV. Because I went through it. Let me see here. I saw it somewhere where it was just the timeline. And I don't know where that went. Okay, Denny. Thank you so much for coming in. Anybody who's leaving, love y'all. Well, we can do the Law and Crime Network one. We can do that. It's just a little different, but I don't have any problem with that. It's pretty long, though. Going through the reference guide, blah, blah, blah.
1942. And can you describe to the jury generally where these cell towers reflect Paul's famous movement? So it'd be at the Beaufort area down the right-hand side, moving up towards Moselle, which you can see in the far right corner, that little badge-looking red dot. All right, up here
hey,
at the
Maribel.
top center, what is that right there? That's going to be an arc. It's just a distance arc. But the red dot, what is that? The red dot, that's going to be 4147 Moselle Road.
Yay.
And what times does Paul's phone ping off any cell tower near Moselle?
6:53 p.m., 7:05, and 7:30:05.
Right, and we see a 3 right there. Does that refer, or what does that 3 refer to as it relates to that cell tower location near Moselle?
It's just going to show you what side of the cell tower it's on, what arc.
What time does it first ping on sector 1 facing Moselle?
7:05:33 p.m.
So I want to stop for just a second and tell you guys that if for some reason that I get dinged for putting this in here, now that it is just at the end of my broadcast, I can just cut it off and they will tell me the exact time frame, and then I will just cut it off is what I will do. So if I have any issues with it, we'll just cut this off at here and the first part of this will stay. And if that happens, it may be that this actual live does not get posted right away until it's all done, till they cut it off and redo it. Just letting you guys know that, okay? Oh, that's so sweet, Annie. Makes your day, doesn't it? That's awesome. And hello to anybody coming in. I know Denise and Jeannie and Maribel came in, and anybody else that came in, if I didn't see you, hey. Okay, I just wanted to clarify that, you guys, and I may stop this every now and then so we can comment on it too. Okay? Can y'all hear it okay?
All right, moving to continue on page 3. We have a time reference at 6:20:53. Can you explain to the jury what, if anything, that indicates?
We have Maggie Murdaugh. She received a phone call from Proctor Marion. That's how it showed up in her phone. Through the phone number, it's actually Marion Proctor, which is how it relays on the phone. It shows rejected.
All right. And after that, what, if any, communications were there?
Right after that, at 6:21:28, Maggie Murdaugh sends a text message to Marion stating, "Can't talk, getting food, massage, we'll call you back." That was from her phone extraction.
Foot massage.
6:23, are there any communications with Maggie and Paul?
There are. Paul sends a message to his mom at 6:23:27 stating, "What did she make?" And then Maggie replies back shortly after saying, "Country fried steak and mac and cheese."
Below that, we have a orange and blue box. What does that represent?
So this is going to be from the FBI telemetry data from that Excel spreadsheet that's ready into evidence. And this is just showing.
So those were the conversations that Paul and Maggie had before they went over to Moselle, or I think it was before either of them went to Moselle.
With that color coordination I talked about earlier, the orange is going to show a system startup, and from previous testimony, that could be, unlocking a car, locking it, getting in close range with the key fob, opening up the rear hatch, just something that makes, when you get in your car, you kind of hear that noise before you start it up. The telemetry is just inner workings, anything could really cause it.
Well, I'm asking you, going back to that map, the incident location at Moselle where Paul and Maggie were found murdered, what county is that in?
That's going to be Colleton County. And then if you look, we have the pink, which is going to kind of show propulsion, and then blue, which is going to show some kind of shift in the vehicle transmission.
All right, down to the bottom, 624. What is that?
624, too, that shows from the FBI report, telemetry report, that the Suburban shows a device connection.
That would be Alan Murdaugh's phone?
That'd be correct.
Moving on to 6:24 p.m. Is there any data points as it relates to the defendant's Suburban?
It is. We have one at 6:24:18 around the PMPED law firm.
All right, and what time is that? No, 6:24.
6:24:18, correct.
All right, and that map there, is that a data point from the CAS data that you just explained to the jury?
That is correct.
Moving down, we have some various messages from some of the individuals. Is that right?
We do. We have Alex Murdaugh receiving a phone call from Jay Parker at 6:25. 6:27, Paul is sending a message to Britt saying maybe Saturday. He calls Robert Boyle shortly after. And then at 8:38 p.m., Rogan calls Marianne Dempsey.
And to your recollection, what is Marianne Dempsey to Rogan?
So they were also tracking Rogan's phone. There was some question about where Rogan was during all of this also.
I believe the girlfriend currently at the time.
All right, moving on to page 5. What does this map represent? Who is this from, this map?
This is going to be from Matt Wild from the FBI. This is directly from his report.
And what phone does this map reflect?
Top right, it's going to say Alex Murdaugh with associated cell phone.
All right, and then there's a box below that. Explain to the jury again what that box represents.
So the box below that, that's going to represent all the times that the pings were logged that Matt Wild actually put in the report.
And then the black circle with the angle in the middle, what is that?
That's going to show you the cell tower and then the kind of angle that the calls or texts would have been in.
Yeah, row.
He is in the sector of that cell tower.
4147 Moselle Road. It's identified by that red badge-looking dot.
All right. On here, this box with the times, those are times of what again?
This would have been times of activity that would send to a cell tower that they would have data on.
In the 6 o'clock hour, what is the latest time period that you see Alan Murdaugh's phone reflecting activity?
6:52 p.m.
And then after that, what's the next time period that you see reflecting activity?
The next time showing on the map is going to be 9:04:24 p.m.
Does the defendant's cell phone reflect any activity between 6:52 and 9:04?
Between 6:52 and 9:04, there's no activity reflected.
At least on the cell pinging.
That is correct.
They got more off of the OnStar stuff.
All right, at 6:40:01, what activity, if any, is reflected?
Paul calls, it's going to show up as PA in the extraction, which is Alex Murdaugh based on the phone number. It shows it was answered. It was 2 minutes and 29 seconds long. This call also does not show up in the phone extractions for Alex Murdaugh, just on his CDRs.
It was in the defendant's CDRs?
That is correct. And it was also in Paul's phone. It shows the phone call.
6:42, and what if anything's reflected?
We have a Suburban device connection to iPhone from the FBI report at 6:42:48, and at 6:42:54, we show the Suburban arrives at 4147 Moselle Road based on the GM OnStar data.
All right, and going on to page 6, is that your CAS map reflecting that data point you just described?
That is correct. It's going to be the 6:42:54 data point.
And what happens at that moment?
That's when Alex Murdaugh is going to arrive back from the PMPED law firm from work that day.
All right, moving on. 6:43:50. What, if any, activity do you see?
It shows that Maggie Murdaugh's phone had a missed call from PA, which is Alex Murdaugh. It shows missed, but also it shows up in Alex Murdaugh's CDRs, but does not show up in either one of the phone extractions.
And
She called him Pa.
We have a couple of the orange and white boxes. Tell the jury again what those reflect.
So these are just going to reflect some kind of system boot up. Doesn't mean the car moved or did anything. It just means that door was opened. It just something triggered the car to kind of do a little internal boot up from previous testimony.
At 6:53:44, what if any activity do you see?
Paul Murdaugh calls John Marvin. It shows 1 minute and 42 seconds long, and that's based off of Paul's phone extraction.
So your understanding when you see those times of the call lengths, does that also include connection time as well?
It does. Based on previous testimony from Verizon, that could include how long it takes to get the actual network connected.
All right. And then at the 7 o'clock hour, what if any communications are on Paul's phone?
So Paul sends a text message to Claude CB Rowe saying, "Are you coming tomorrow?" And then shortly after, he sends another text saying, "Sunflowers died. We need to plow them under ASAP." And that was based off his phone extraction.
Moving on now to page 7. Do we have some activity at 7:02:29?
We do. Maggie Murdaugh calls Alex Murdaugh. It shows 2 seconds, and this also does not show on Alex Murdaugh's extraction. It shows on the CDRs, and it also shows on Maggie's phone that Maggie called Alex, but does not show on Alex's phone that call was there.
Missing from his phone, though, correct?
That is correct. Missing in the call log of the phone.
All right, 7:03 to 7:11.
Okay, now the CDR is the stuff from the vehicles, you guys. That's the OnStar stuff, the CDR. At 7 o'clock, Maggie calls Alec. At 7:03, Alec's phone shows steps. Can y'all read all of this as they're going along? Just wondering how much of it you can see. I had a hard time seeing this when I was watching it the other day when this was, I don't remember what day this was.
What, if anything, is reflected on Alex's phone?
His phone's showing approximately 165 steps taken during that time frame.
And then what happens at 7:04?
7:04, through the catch data
get my
database,
pattern.
It shows that Paul Murdaugh is at the residence of 4147 Moselle Road.
Does Maggie's phone reflect any activity as we move on to the 7:04 time period?
Her phone showed that between 7:04 and 8:17, her phone showed a Bluetooth connection to MBUX95224, which is her Mercedes-Benz.
And so anytime we see MBUX95224, what, if anything, does that represent?
That's going to reflect her Mercedes-Benz.
MB for Mercedes-Benz?
That's correct.
All right. Moving on, at 7:05, does Maggie call anyone?
She does. She calls Marion at 7:05:13. It shows answered 7 seconds.
At 7:05:55, is there any reflection of the communication between Alec and Maggie Murdaugh?
There is. Alex sends a message to, in his phone, it's Maggie May, stating, "Paul said you were getting a petty. Call when you done." That's from the Alex. That's from the extraction.
Moving on, do we have any communications between Maggie and Paul during this time period?
At 7:05:32, we have Maggie calling Paul. It shows answered 1 minute and 31 seconds.
And then does Maggie attempt to call Marion again?
That's correct.
I'm sorry. That would be at the bottom of the screen.
Yep, that'd be the 7:07:49. Maggie Murdaugh calls Marion. And when it says Marion, it's Marion Proctor.
All right, moving on to page 8, we have another map. Can you generally explain what this represents to the jury, please?
So in the top right-hand corner, we have Maggie Murdaugh with the associated phone number. We have 2 points, 4147 Moselle Road in the red, and the green's going to be the Almeida property. When you're looking at this map, number 1's going to be closer to Charleston, and it's working its way. Maggie is working her way towards Moselle in this map.
All right. And the first time period you see on dot number, this number 1,
It's going to be 7:07:49.
and the latest time period you see on the dot that's numbered 5.
That is correct. That's going to be in the Walterboro area. It's going to be 7:50:20. 7:50:20 is going to be the latest dot, and that's in the Walterboro area.
I know some of those pictures are with the dots and stuff are blurry, but they're blurry on mine too.
All right, moving on. Looking down at 7:09:43. What, if any, activity do we see on Maggie's phone?
Maggie calls her mom. It shows answered 8 minutes and 17 seconds long.
Would that be Ms. Brandstetter?
That is correct.
We have an orange box. Tell the jury that quickly, please.
So that's just showing a system boot up. Could have been getting close to the Suburban, unlocking it, locking it, opening up a door, or it could just be some kind of internal components based on previous testimony from the FBI.
After that, we have 2 entries. Can you tell the jury what those 2 entries are, the time periods, and what they represent, please?
Yep. So the next 2 entries are going to be 7:14:13 to 7:22:19. It's going to be Paul Murdaugh's iPhone showing approximately 208 steps traveled during that time period. And the one below it's going to be 7:15:35 to 7:21:52. This is going to be from Alex's phone, showing that approximately 200 steps were taken during that time frame. So we have 208 steps taken from Paul during his time frame, and then Alex is around 200 steps traveled.
And both those time periods for those steps for Alec and Paul, are those generally roughly the same?
Generally the same.
Consistent?
That's correct.
7:18:44. What, if any, activity do you see?
Alex Murdaugh sends a text message to CB Rowe saying, "Call me, please."
Going now to page 9 at the top.
I think they say somewhere in here, whenever it's a deleted one, I think they mention that as they're going through this, if I'm not mistaken.
Those 2 entries, again, explain those 2 entries to the jury.
So the first entry is going to be Paul Murdaugh's iPhone from 7:25:03 to 7:34:47, and it's showing 139 steps taken during that time period. This is approximate. 7:28:35 to 7:37:11 is going to be Alex Murdaugh's iPhone, showing approximately 47 steps traveled during that time period.
All right, 7:30 p.m. We have another data point indicating Maggie's trip home to Moselle.
That is correct.
All right, we got another map. Tell the jury what this one is, please.
This map is
Cerberus
just
has
showing
arrived.
that her phone was pinging. It's starting at 7:30.
Whose phone is this?
This is going to be Paul Murdaugh. It's going to be the right-hand corner. So it say Paul Murdaugh with the phone number on top. This is just showing where his phone was pinging on June 7, 2021, starting at 7:30, and then all the way to 8:40 p.m.
All right, we see 2 cell towers there and then some arcs. Where do those arcs intersect?
The arcs intersect close to the property at Moselle Road.
And if you would, just tell the jury the earliest time that's reflected here and the latest time that's reflected here.
The earliest time reflected is going to be 7:30:05, and the latest time reflected is going to be 7:40:21 p.m. on June 7, 2021.
So Paul's phone is at the Moselle location according to the data.
That is correct.
All right. Bottom of page 9. Do we have any communications between Maggie and Marion Proctor?
We do. At 7:31:13 p.m., we show a call from Maggie to Marion at 7:39, which is the length of the call.
7 minutes and 39 seconds.
That's correct.
Does that include connection time as well?
It does.
Do we have any step data on Paul's phone in the time period around this time?
Paul's phone shows between 7:35:10 and 7:41:43. It shows roughly around 171 steps traveled during that time frame.
7:37 and 7:38. Do we see any activity on Paul's phone with some of his friends?
Paul receives a Snapchat message from Michelle Beck stating, BC, I have short-term memory loss, and that was based off his phone extraction. And then Paul Murdaugh receives an iMessage from Megan Kimbrell stating, Paul.
All right, moving now to page 10. Going to 739:55. Can you tell the jury what that data point reflects on your summary timeline?
So from earlier testimony, you've seen this this video. This is just a thumbnail picture, and this is when it's showing it was created in Paul Murdaugh's phone. And we have a little screenshot of the creation time. It's going to show 7:39:55 is when this thumbnail was created in Paul's phone.
And remind the jury what video that is. Let's see, we got a thumbnail there, but
Yep.
what video is that?
This is going to be that Snapchat video that was sent to a few friends of the tree. You have Alex Murdaugh on the tree that's leaning over.
All right. And again, this is when that video.
The jury will get a copy of the timeline, Chelsea. Absolutely, they will.
The timestamp was its creation.
That's correct, based on previous testimony, yes.
All right. 7:41 to 7:48. What, if anything, is reflected on Alex's phone?
We show that 29 steps were traveled on his phone, approximately between 7:41 and 7:48.
And just talked about the Snapchat video. Looking at this map, whose phone is this? And explain these data points to the jury, if you would, please. Or whose phone is this first, if you would, please?
So this is going to be Paul Murdaugh's iPhone, and below it, it's going to be his iPhone location data. So this is not going to be Verizon location. This is going to be location data directly off of his phone.
So this is GPS data that's more specific.
That is correct.
All right. And we see a number of dots up here. What is this area up here generally sort of in the center of this image?
That's going to be the kennel area, and then there's that little house.
The cabin?
The cabin.
All right. And what time period in that upper box do we see GPS data on Paul's phone up there in the kennel cabin area?
We're seeing between 7:45 and 7:54 is location data for that area.
7:54, 7:56.
7:56, sorry, it's on RC.
And then we have two data points at the bottom.
Mhm.
Is that where is generally that on the property?
That's going to be what previous testimony talked about, like a dove field. It's going to be past the main house, closer to the Godly Farm roadside. And that's going to be a data point at 8:42 seconds and 8:44 seconds.
8 p.m.?
That's correct, 8 p.m., June 7th.
Oh, darn it.
And we're getting closer to the time that things happen.
And then down at the bottom of page 10, is there any step data on Paul's phone?
There is. It shows approximately 89 steps traveled during
What time periods?
7:45 p.m. to 7:55.
Moving on to page 11, we have a map. Tell the jury whose phone that is and what that data point is, please.
So this is going to be Maggie Murdaugh's phone. This is going to be Verizon location data. And what we see here is the tower and then the arc of the tower. This is going to be in the Walterboro area. The time is 7:50:03 p.m.
All right, and moving now, we're starting to see some references, and there's a little battery symbol on the side. What does that represent?
So that's going to represent battery life. So right here, this is going to be at 7:52:28. It's going to show Paul Murdaugh's iPhone battery at 7%.
And in your review generally of Paul's cell phone data, was it generally consistent for him to continue to use his phone even if he had a low battery life on it?
That's correct.
And is that also consistent with the testimony from David Grubbs from yesterday? The
Previous testimony, yes.
All right, below that, 7:55 time period, we have two entries. Can you explain those two entries to the jury and how they relate to each other, if anything?
So 7:55:44 to 8:05:28, we have Paul Murdaugh's iPhone showing approximately 262 steps traveled. And a close time frame from 7:55:32 to 8:05:07, we show Alex's iPhone traveling approximately 270 steps during that time period.
And then at 7:56, what is reflected as it relates to that Snapchat video?
This is when the Snapchat video referencing Alex Murdaugh would have been sent through Paul's Snapchat account to his friends.
Now, this is the outfit that Alex said. This is what he said he was wearing when he went to work that day, and that there was the questioning about him about that, because what was her name again? Said that that's not what he had on. Oh gosh, her name just slipped my mind for some reason. And yes, they can even tell how much battery life is on the phones. Yes, and Paul was known to run his phone and down for it would die, and his friends just knew his phone probably died, so that's why he didn't answer and that kind of thing. Blanca, thank you. But this is the outfit.
Based on previous testimony.
And it was created, you already testified to this, but it was created when?
I believe 7:39:55.
And it was sent out to his friends when?
At 7:56 p.m.
Moving on to page 12 at 7:57, does one of his friends respond?
Yes, he receives a Snapchat message from Brian Murdaugh.
Sorry.
Stating, "Damn, man, needs some straps. Oh, it."
All right. Now we're moving into the 8 p.m. hour on June 7th, 2021. Is that correct?
That is correct.
All right. We have a map here. First of all, in the right corner, whose phone is this?
This is going to be Paul Murdaugh's phone. This is going to be his iPhone location data.
And starting up at the, it's sort of the top center, more to the right. Where does that location generally?
That's going to be the little cabin on the property.
All right. And what is the data point? What's the time on that data point up there?
I believe it says 8:06:20 p.m.
All right. And then we see the dots sort of moving down. And in what direction are they generally moving?
That's moving towards the main house on the property.
All right. And then down at the bottom of the screen, at what time do we see that data point stop at the main residence?
8:14.
What's the first data point?
8:08:45 and then 8:14.
Paul's at the main residence at what time? First?
8:08:45 p.m.
See? 8:08. That's what they said. 8:08.
All right. And just on page 13, we have some earlier data points. Is this map kind of out of order just a little bit?
It is. So this is just going to be earlier data points at 8:05:14.
And on the stand today, Alex said when he was asked about that, the 8:08, that he was there at 8:09, he said, "Well, I know that's what they said, but that's not what I believe happened." That was his response.
8:04:45, just showing some location data from his iPhone.
So that one should have gone before this one, the one at the bottom of page 12.
That's correct.
Which reflects Paul again getting back to the main residence at what time?
8:08:45 p.m.
Looking below, again on page 13, do we see two entries for Paul and Alex's phone? And if so, please explain to the jury what they are.
So for Alex's phone, we show between 8:05 and 8:09 that his phone approximately took 54 steps traveled during that time period. And then for Paul, we show 8:05:46 to 8:15:24. We show approximately 303 steps traveled during that time period.
Moving on to page 14, do we see that same map again of Paul's phone reflecting him arriving at the residence at 8:08?
8:08:45, correct.
And then still pinging there at what time? At the bottom time?
8:14 p.m.
So it's a good question, Lori. And at some point during this, I don't remember who the expert was, but it was somebody from SLED. And they said that they searched a great deal of the property around the houses. They searched all the outbuildings. They searched some of the waterways on the property. So I know that they did quite a bit of looking around the property. They were looking for those clothes. They were looking for bloody clothing, and they were looking for the guns mainly.
Again, at 8:07, what, if anything, do we see?
At 8:07:20, we see that Paul is sending Snapchats to a few friends. That's based off his Snapchat records.
All right, the next entry is in purple, and then there's kind of a line going from that. Explain what that purple reference, that time period references, and then the line that travels down the side of your timeline. Explain to the jury what that's going to represent generally to the various phones as we go forward.
As we go forward, anytime you see purple, that's going to represent Maggie Murdaugh's phone. And for this instant, it's going to represent on the left-hand side, the line going down. Anytime you see a line next to something, that means whatever it says on the left. So if it says device locked, it means the device was locked during those other time periods. So this is going to show from 8:11:08 to 8:31:15 that Maggie's iPhone was locked. And as we move down, you can see it continue to the next page. That means during those times it's locked.
All right. So we'll see multiple of those as you go forward, just explaining time periods where various devices were locked or other things were going on.
That is correct.
All right. Moving on to page 15, we have a map. Explain to the jury whose phone this is and what it represents.
So this is going to be for CB Row. And this is a overview map. You can see Augusta, the North Augusta area, and it's showing the sector and the tower that it's pinging off of at 7:13:15 in the North Augusta area.
You say 7:13 or 8:13?
I'm sorry, 8:13:15.
All right. So CB Row's phone is pinging over here, way over here in Augusta. Is that right?
That is correct.
All right, moving to the next map. Whose phone is this? If you could tell whose phone this is, and then what data points you see on this particular map.
So this is going to be Paul Murdaugh's iPhone location data. So it's going to be separate from like Verizon location data. And this is showing at the area of the main house, bottom left. And the data starts at 8:14 and goes all the way to 8:35:07.
8:35. Paul's phone is located where?
At the main house, 4147 Moselle Road.
And down at the bottom of page 15, do we have any step reference for Paul?
We do. From 8:15:55 to 8:21:45. We're showing approximately 140 steps traveled.
So that's when he left the main house, is what they're saying.
Paul arrived back at the residence about 8:08. You testified, is that correct?
That is correct.
At 8:17 and 14 seconds, what, if anything, do you see on Maggie's phone?
So it's highlighted purple in reference to Maggie. It's going to show that her phone ended with the connection to the Mercedes-Benz, which is the MBUX 95224. It shows that it's unplugged.
And what does that mean? What does that reference mean as it relates to Maggie's phone and the Mercedes she was driving?
It means that she unplugged her phone
from that
vehicle.
And the data generally reflects that she's at the residence at that point?
That is correct.
Paul 8:08, Maggie 8:17.
That is correct.
Alex's last data point on his phone was 6:52, right?
That is correct, based on the Verizon records.
We have at 8:17:44 p.m. Do we have a battery reference for Paul?
We do. It shows that his iPhone was at 4% battery life at that time.
As we continue forward, do we see Paul continue to use his phone?
We do.
At 8:17 to 8:18, what, if anything, do we see on Maggie's phone?
We're showing approximately 38 steps taken during that time frame.
And that would be after her phone disconnects from the Mercedes.
That's correct.
8:19 p.m., what do we see on Paul's phone?
We see that he connects to a PRTC Wi-Fi and that he receives a Snapchat message from Ansley Wilson stating he got the magic touch. He also sends another outgoing text message or Snapchat message.
Now, PRTC, his phone connects to PRTC. What is PRTC?
So PRTC is going to be the local internet and telephone provider for this area. So it's just showing a Wi-Fi connection.
And was PRTC, to your knowledge, providing services to Moselle Road?
They were providing services to the main house and then the cabin.
All right, going below that, we have a series of communications. And whose communications are these going sort of back and forth? A series of communications.
This is going to be Paul Murdaugh's series of communications.
And I'm not going to read each one or have you read each one, but are these generally communications going back and forth with his friends?
That is correct.
I messed up, y'all. I gotta go back. I gotta tink it.
And on this page, they start around what time and continue through about what time?
Start around 8:23 and go all the way to 8:29.
Well,
then we keep on going down. Yeah, about 8:30. It's about 8:23 to 8:30.
All right, at 8:30 to 8:33 p.m., what, if anything, do we see on Maggie's phone?
We're showing that her phone took approximately 42 steps traveled during that time period.
All right. And that starts at what time that Maggie's phone starts reflecting steps?
8:30 p.m.
About 8:30. Going on to the next page, page 17. Going back just real quick on page 16, generally that series of communications with Paul and his friends, is he generally responding fairly quickly to the communications back and forth?
He is either, it's their Snapchat and iMessages. He's responding and using those two applications very frequently.
And now we're at the top of page 17 at 8:31 p.m. Describe to the jury generally what this data entry is.
So this is going to be a group message from John Marvin Murdaugh. He's talking about how they're planning to go visit their dad tomorrow and asking if anyone else is going. Listed here, everyone that's in that group message.
And that's generally a number of family members?
That is correct.
And the dad they're referring to is who?
It's going to be Alex's dad.
Mr. Randolph?
That is correct.
And based on your knowledge and investigation, he had a turn for the worst health-wise around this time?
That is correct.
All right, well, let's talk about that very quickly. That did the defendant receive, or did his phone receive that text?
His phone and Maggie's phone both received the text message.
And did the defendant ever read that text, according to the phone at least?
According to the phone, it was not read until the following day, 6/8 of 21 at 1:44:49 p.m.
And that text came in at what time?
8:31 on the dot.
And did Maggie read that text right away, at least according to the phone, her phone?
She did not.
Alec has been allowed to chew gum and to have Tic Tacs.
When did her phone finally read that text?
Around 8:49:26.
What time?
8:49:26 is when Maggie read that text.
8:49.
8:49.
At 8:31,
What's a Tic Tac?
Entry do we see?
So at the 8:31:15, Maggie Murdaugh's phone unlocks and does orientation changes. And then at 8:31:18 to 8:49:26, we show that her phone was locked.
At 8:31, there's an orientation change. Does the data reflect that her phone was unlocked at that period of time?
That is correct.
All right. And then what happens after that at 8:31 and 18 seconds?
Her device is locked until 8:49:26.
8:49:26, is that correct?
8:49:26.
All right. At 8:32:25, we have an entry in green and then a line going down. Can you explain to the jury those time periods and what, if any, significance they have?
So green is going to reflect Paul Murdaugh. Anytime you see green, it's going to be Paul, and purple is going to be Maggie. That's reflecting that his iPhone moved approximately 283 steps during that time period. So on the left-hand side, as we go down, and you're going to see other data entry points. If you see the green next to it, that means that those steps are being traveled during that time frame.
And now we have a map. Whose phone is that?
This is also going to be Paul Murdaugh's. This is going to be his iPhone location data.
Right. And where is that iPhone location data located?
That's going to be at the kennel area of the property.
Right. And tell me the time periods that he is at the kennels at this point in time.
At this point in time, he's at the kennels at 8:38:07 p.m., 8:44:53, 8:44:55, 8:44:56.
That's Paul.
What happens at 8:40 while Paul's phone is at the kennels?
Paul calls Rogan Gibson. It shows answered for 4 minutes and 14 seconds.
Starting at what time?
8:40:20.
If you have about a 4-minute call, what time does that end?
8:44.
At 8:44:34, what, if anything, does Paul's phone indicate?
So at 8:44:34, Paul Murdaugh initiates a FaceTime video call with Rogan Gibson. It shows answered 11 seconds long. And that's based off of Paul and Rogan's information.
And then at 8:44:55, what does it reflect on Paul's phone?
This is when this video was extracted and created through Paul's phone, which shows Alex, Maggie, and, well, you can hear Alex, Maggie, and Paul in the background.
That's the kennel video at 8:44.
That's a kennel video that's been in previous testimony, correct?
Following below that, at 8:47 and 8:48, does Paul continue to communicate with his phone?
He does. He uses the iMessage feature in his phone to send a couple messages to Megan Kimbrell. It looks like it's based off of movie recommendations.
Are those communications for 10 minutes or just for a couple of minutes or a minute or so?
A minute or so.
Going to the top of page 19. What time do we see there?
8:48:29.
And what's going on? What's Paul doing?
He's receiving a message from Megan, and we have some backlight on data at 8:48:56.
All right. And the next entry, tell me the time periods for that entry.
8:48:58 to 8:49:01.
All right. And what happens there?
Paul Murdaugh's phone that's the last time that it was unlocked.
Ever?
8:49:01.
And the next activity that we'll see on Paul's phone occurred when?
We have a backlight off from 8:49 to...
Going back to 8:48 to 8:49:01, you said that was when Paul's phone was last unlocked?
That is correct.
And continue on with that data entry, what does it indicate? What's the next time ever that Paul's phone shows any activity?
10:18. That's when...
And the 8:48 to 8:49 p.m.?
Oh, sorry. Next activity notification is going to be the Rogan Gibson call at 9:58:35. That's the next time that any activity or notification shows up on his phone.
I know he doesn't say anything or do anything. He's just watching. You know, it's a trial. He's a lawyer. He's just part of the show.
What are those time periods there, and what do they represent starting at 8:49:01?
Starting at 8:49:01 to 10:34:23, Paul's phone shows device locked.
And was it ever open again until it died at 10:34:23?
It was not.
8:49:01 is the last time before that Paul had ever unlocked his phone.
That is correct.
Just a few seconds later, does Maggie's phone reflect any activity?
It does. 8:49:26, so approximately 26 seconds later, her phone unlocks for a text message notification, and it implements an orientation change.
And was that text message about Mr. Randolph that you earlier referred to?
That is correct, that group message. I believe it was in response to Lynn.
And at 8:49:31, here in red, what happens to Maggie's phone? Just seconds later.
Maggie Murdaugh's phone locks forever.
Forever. Until when?
Until it's recovered the next day at 1:10 p.m.
On June 8th.
On June 8th by law enforcement.
Do both Maggie's and Paul's phone lock forever around 8:49?
They do.
They were talking about this especially because this is when the law enforcement have said that this is the time of death. They're calling this the time of death. I mean, you guys, I'm going to stop here for just a second and give us a little break. Let's all take a break, as the judge always says. Because they had, was it yesterday or the day before that they brought the actual coroner out? Can we say superstar? I had to say it. Superstar. The actual coroner, here's what he did. He decided that in order to get the time of death, to put his arms underneath his hands underneath their arms to test for warmth. And that's how he knew how long they'd been dead. Superstar. So, because nobody, including this coroner, did things correctly, the law enforcement, as to the time of death, law enforcement is using these phone locking times for time of death. Okay? Because nothing happened once they locked down. They had to have been dead, or they would have been using these phones. Yeah, he didn't read it on his own phone because he didn't have his phone down there. He left it at the house. Yeah, testing their body temperature by putting his hand underneath their arms. Right. Very interesting, right? No thermometer. I could see a thermometer underneath the arm. They also do, when they do the exam of the body back at the morgue, they use a rectal exam to find out the body temperature. But And sometimes on scene too, but that didn't get done either.
At 8:49:35, does Paul's phone receive a text from anyone?
It does. It receives a text from Brogan Gibson.
What does that text say?
See if you can get a good picture of it. Mary Ann, referring to his girlfriend, wants to send it to a girl we know that's a vet. Tell him to sit and stay, and he shouldn't move around too much. That shows unread.
You never read that.
Never read it.
According to the investigation, is that the conversation that Paul and Rogan were actively engaged in starting at 8:40?
That is correct.
The kennel video was at what time?
8:44.
And the defendant repeatedly denied that he was ever at those kennels with the victims just minutes before their phones go silent forever.
Objection.
Basis for the objection.
Misleading.
I'll leave you with this. Restate the question.
Did the defendant repeatedly deny ever being at the kennels at that
Yes.
time period?
Yes, he did. Various interviews with law enforcement.
Was that kennel video? What time was that kennel video?
Was that an eye
And
roll?
what time did Paul and Maggie's phones go silent forever?
Several times.
Objection is overruled.
8:49 is when their phones went silent forever.
At 8:53, did we see any activity on Maggie's phone?
We do. At this time, as you can see to the right, her phone is locked, but we do see that 59 steps were traveled over the period of 8:53 to 8:55.
And that just means the phone was moving, correct?
That is correct.
Do we see some orientation changes as well?
We do. Between 8:53:08 and 8:55:32, we see various orientation changes.
Now, they speculated on this one that it possibly could have been that Alec was trying to get her phone open. So he didn't know if she had face recognition going on the phone, that maybe he turned it and put it in front of her face to see if he could get the phone to come open. But he knew her password anyway. So I always thought that that was a little odd. But also they said that there were orientation changes, which means that he might have been trying to read something and then took it somewhere too.
Which would indicate that someone has the phone based on previous testimony.
It's definitely moving and doing something. So who had it?
Moving on to page 20. At the top, we have 8:55, and we have a reference to a data point. Can you explain that to the jury, whose phone that is, and just generally what that is based on information gathered in the investigation?
8:55:48.
True, Joan.
8:55:48, yes, sir.
That's just a internal application running in the background for Maggie Murdaugh's phone. It's just the iPhones will take a random snapshot of what's going on in the phone. So that's just reflecting that there was some, behind the scenes stuff happening in her phone. It's not saying that someone was actively using it.
Hold on for me just real quick. Right here at the bottom of page 13.
So in the beginning, the prosecution set out that the motive that Alec had was that he was under pressure from all the parts of his life, and that everyone was going to find out what he had been doing. about all this money that he had been stealing. There was some talk, and it has not been brought out in court, but there was talk that he and Maggie were not seeing eye to eye, and that quite possibly they were going to be divorcing, that she had seen a divorce lawyer, and that if this went through, then all the records were going to have to be shown. He had, that day, he had was having to prepare some, he had written out a whole bunch of stuff for the boat wreck that day. So he was having to give some kind of an accounting to the lawyer for the families in the boat wreck. And of course, Paul, he's the one who caused this problem in the first place with the boat wreck. The drugs, they supposedly knew that about his drug addiction, and they had confronted him, and that Maggie was looking up the different kinds of drugs that he supposedly was taking and the colors of them to find out what they were, that there were things they found, and it was in the extraction that she had searched that. So there was a lot of different things that have come to be a part of the motive, but in the very beginning he set it out, the prosecution set out that the motive was the money, and that he was under all this pressure, and they needed to go away because they were going to cause him more problems, and everyone was going to know what happened and how bad that he had taken everybody, how much money he had stolen.
We have a reference to step data on Alex's phone.
That's correct.
And what are those time periods?
8:05:35 to 8:09:52. It's showing 54 steps traveled.
Turn to page 20. What suddenly happens to Alex's phone around 9:02?
Pretty much wakes up.
And what data point is reflected?
From 9:02:18 p.m. to 9:06:47, it shows 283 steps traveled.
And how long? How many minutes, roughly?
5 minutes. 5 or 6 minutes.
I'm going to show you what's been marked as Exhibit 521, your testimony, and see if you recognize that.
I do.
And tell me what that is, please.
This is going to be a paste spreadsheet for Paul Murdaugh, Maggie Murdaugh, and Alex Murdaugh that I created.
Your Honor, this time I would offer States 521 into evidence.
No objection. Submit it.
He said pace, so he's going to see how fast they were going.
Yeah, the evidence, please. Okay, General, if I could have the screen. All right, tell the jury real quick as we look at this exhibit, just a minute. Just generally, we have at the top, tell them quickly what this is and what these columns represent. Explain this chart, if you would.
First column entry, that's just going to be from all the various entries from the phone data. We have a start time, we have a end time, we have the time elapsed in between the estimated amount of steps, and then we have a steps per minute calculation, which is going to be the far right.
And the steps, those are the data entries in this timeline that you've been testifying to as reflected from the phone data.
That is correct.
And then the last column is just a simple calculation of steps based on the time periods of those readings.
That is correct.
And the last step readings that we have on Paul's phone are from what time to what time?
The last step reading from Paul's phone is 8:32 to 8:42.
We have one for Maggie as well, is that correct?
We do. Her last time frame is going to be 8:53 to 8:55.
And then down at the bottom, who do we have?
This is going to be Alex Murdaugh's paste spreadsheet.
Let's talk about this a little bit. you would, start with entry 21. And what time periods is that? This is Alex's phone, correct?
This is going to be Alex Murdaugh's phone.
Time period.
6:52 to 7:02.
How many steps?
Approximately 283.
And how many steps per minute based on a simple math calculation?
Estimated 29.34.
All right. 22, time period, steps, and steps per minute.
7:03 to 7:11. Approximately 165 steps. Estimated 19.26 steps per minute.
24,
24 is going to be 7:28 to 7:37. Approximately 47 steps.
Let's stop it for a minute so y'all can look at that a little bit. Lots of steps in this short time seems like a sprint. Yeah. And I don't think so that these up in here, the whole 7 o'clock or whatever. Let me get my pointer out. This stuff up in here was supposedly when he was out doing stuff with Paul. Okay. He was out doing stuff with Paul in here. And this other down into like the 8 o'clock stuff, this is supposedly when they got back to the house. And back to the, he left him at the shed, and then he went back to the house. Right? Well, his phone here's at 8:09, and there's nothing between 8:09 and 9:08. That's that one right there. And then all of a sudden, he's moving, man. He's moving here, 283, and then between there and there is, and then here, and the pace that he's moving, the steps per minute, right there, 70 per minute. He really picked up the pace.
And estimated 5.46 steps per minute.
25,
7:41 to 7:48. Showing approximately 29 steps. 3.97 steps per minute.
26,
Well, that one, but this one is Alex. This one's Alex, not Paul's. I don't think they didn't do Paul's yet, have they? I don't think they did. Anyway, just wanted to make sure.
26 is showing 7:55 to 8:05. 270 steps. Approximately 28.2 steps per minute.
28,
28 is going to be the 8:05 to 8:09. It's showing approximately 74 steps. That's 17.28 steps per minute.
as you testified, that was the last entry on Alex's phone before we get to the 9 o'clock hour. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And what time was the video again?
8:44 p.m.
Let's talk about 27. What's the time period there?
Time period is going to be 9:02 to 9:06.
How many steps?
283 steps. 70.75 steps per minute estimated.
Okay, Adele, glad you're
There's a
here.
guy right there, wasn't it?
Thank you, everyone, for being here. I appreciate it.
What was the average steps per minute from 9:02 to 9:06?
70.75.
Was that far in excess of any ratings on his phone in those prior entries?
According to this table, yes.
Hey, Laura.
Have the computer back again, please. Have a map here on Paul's phone. Tell me very quickly what that represents.
We do. This is going to be based off of Verizon records for Paul Murdaugh, and it's showing 903.22 and 903.30, just showing what cell towers it was painting off of.
Again, is his phone still locked during this time?
That is correct. Paul and Maggie's phones are still locked at this time.
Bottom of page 20, we got a pink box. What does that reflect?
Night, Joan.
That's from the FBI telemetry data, just showing a system startup, the telemetry system.
On which Vehicle.
Alex Murdaugh's 2021 Suburban.
Okay, so this is when he connects to the Suburban. He turned the car on. And I think we have some cross-examining going on later on this, and I don't know that I will do the cross-examination if it is.
Is there a CDR reference to Marianne Dempsey attempting to call Paul?
There is.
Marianne Dempsey again is who?
Rogan Gibson's girlfriend at the time.
We have two entries after that. Can you explain those entries to the jury and tell the jury what those are?
So at 9:03:52 to 9:04:23, Maggie Murdaugh's iPhone backlight is on. At 9:04:23, Alex Murdaugh calls Maggie Murdaugh, shows 18 seconds in his CDRs. This does not show on that Dylan Hightower first extraction or the second extraction. And it also shows missed on Maggie's phone extraction.
That one's missing from Alex's phone, correct?
That is correct. In the call log, it is missing.
At 9:05:15, is there any activity on Alex's phone?
It shows that Alex Murdaugh calls Randolph Murdaugh, 18 seconds. Does not show on Dylan Hightower extraction or the second extraction, just on the CDRs.
We have a pinkish box. What does that represent?
Pinkish box.
I don't know if those are the deleted calls, you guys, because they didn't show. I'm not sure. I'm confused on that.
Represent that system startup for the telemetry data for the 21 Suburban.
At 9:06:12, what happens?
Between 9:06:12 and 9:06:20, Maggie Murdaugh's phone implements orientation change from portrait to orientation sideways.
This is when they
That
think he
starts at
threw her
9:06:12?
car,
Yes,
threw it out of the
at
car.
9:06:20.
Orientation starts to change. What happens 2 seconds after that orientation starts to change?
At 9:06:14, so that's 2 seconds afterwards, the phone receives an incoming call from Alex.
Was that call on the call log when Dylan Hightower downloaded the defendant's phone?
It was not.
Yeah, there it goes. It was deleted. He deleted that call.
Nine 9:06:14 and 9:06:15. Are those referencing that missed call that showed up on Maggie's phone?
That is correct.
And 9:06:20, we're still seeing an orientation change.
Yep, that's when the orientation ended.
Oh, see, they got all that off of Maggie's phone.
Moving down to the bottom of page 21, we have a bluish and a green box. Tell the jury what that is.
So, according to the FBI telemetry data, the blue is going to indicate a shift in the transmission, and then green is going to show driving.
The Suburban's underway.
That is correct, according to the telemetry data.
At the bottom of page 21, is there another call from Alex Murdaugh's phone to Maggie's phone?
There is at 9:06:52. Alex calls Maggie. It shows 7 seconds long, and that's based off the CDR since it was deleted off the call history.
It wasn't on Alex's extraction, correct?
It was not.
2 missed calls.
2 missed calls.
Moving to page 22, at the top, what, if anything, does Alex Murdaugh's phone show in relation to the Suburban?
So it's just showing that the device connected to the car. When you get in your car, your phone will pair. It's just showing a device connection to iPhone.
And then the next entry, there's a time range there. Explain that time range to the jury and what that means.
So starting at 9:07 and going till 9:44. 9:31:44.
Yeah.
Her backlight is off.
Right,
Backlight is
Denny.
off. That entire time period.
That entire time period. It was on, but now for this time period from 9:07 to 9:31, it's going to show off.
Going to this map, is that some of the cast data that you did, that you testified to the jury?
It is. This is a previous slide that we had up. It's shown at 9:07:06. The Suburban is leaving 4147 Moselle Road.
2 calls to Maggie. Does the Suburban just take a quick right and go down this road right there to the kennels, or does it just continue straight on?
It just continues straight on.
Doesn't stop by the kennels for a second, does it?
Oh, and by the way, today, Alec made a point to tell everybody that 4147 is the house, but 4157 was out there at the hangar and shed kennel area. That's 4157 because there's several entrances to the property, not just these 2.
Does it stop by the kennels?
His vehicle does not stop by the kennels.
Keeps right on going.
It's right on going to Moselle Road, makes right.
I'll be right back. I've got to get something for my headache.
Going down to the bottom of page 22.
It's just another data point. It's showing the approximate location of Maggie Murdaugh's phone when it was located. And at 9:08:36, it's showing 42 miles an hour on Moselle Road. And in reference, we're coming up to Godley Farm Road on Moselle Road. This is at 9:08:36.
And then we have, below that, we have a reference to a data point that you previously showed to the jury at 9:08:42.
Yep, it's going to be on the next page.
All right.
It's going to be at 9:08:42. It's showing approximate miles per hour of 45 in reference to where the phone was found the next day.
And what's the speed on the defendant's vehicle at that point?
45 miles an hour.
And is Maggie's backlight off during this time period, this entire time period?
Her phone is locked. The backlight is off.
At 9:08:58, what do we see?
Alex Murdaugh sends a iMessage to Maggie stating, "Going to check on M, be right back." This shows unread in Maggie's phone.
Moving on, does Alex's phone reflect a series of calls being made?
It does.
Tell me about the first one.
First one's going to be at 9:10:47. Alex calls Buster. It shows 60 seconds long. That's based off of CDR since it's not in his phone extractions.
That's again also missing from that entire series of events around the time of the murders. That was not on Alex's extraction when it was downloaded.
That is correct. It's not in the call log.
I'll move on.
Finesse and answer.
Down at 9:12:14, what if any activity is reflected on the defendant's phone?
Alex Murdaugh calls Chris Wilson. It shows 42 seconds long. That's based off his CDRs because it's not in any of his phone extractions or call logs.
Connection time as well.
It does.
Moving on to page 24, we have a map. Tell the jury quickly what this map reflects.
This is going to be an Alex Murdaugh location map from Verizon. It's going to show at 9:12:14 what tower and what sector it's pinging off of, and then at 9:18:46 what tower it's pinging off of. The red dot's going to be Moselle. The green one is going to be the Alameda property.
Moving on to the next map, is that similar information of the defendant's trip from Moselle to Alameda?
It's similar. It's just going to show you the coverage areas for each tower.
This one's Glacier Freeze.
And then on page 26, what does this map reflect?
This is going to be Verizon records for CB Row. Far right, the little red dot, that's going to be Moselle. Blue dot is going to be CB Row's home in Brunson. This is just showing the cell tower data at the time frame of 9:14, 9:20, and 9:21.
And
In 11:37 p.m. This is close to Fairfax, just for reference.
he's pinging in the arc near his home over here in Fairfax, is that right?
That is correct. The home's
Where's
gonna be
Moselle?
Moselle's going to be that red dot to the right.
So this is his drive to Alameda, right?
At 9:18:46, what if any activity is reflected on the defendant's phone?
At 9:18:46, Alex Murdaugh calls John Marvin Murdaugh. It shows 106 seconds, and that's from his CDR since it's not on either phone extraction call log.
It's weird why he would delete those calls. I don't understand that one either. Unless he did one of those, okay, where you go in and you hit the edit button and you pick all these and you decide you're going to delete them. And then he was going to go back and do some more and then he forgot and he didn't go back and do it. Maybe. I don't know. Yeah, they did, Chels. I think they did that right when they first started. It was right when they first started, they did. Because they said he was calling her phone.
We're on page 26 now. Tell the jury quickly what this map reflects.
There's also going to be Verizon records from Alex Murdaugh's phone. Plotted, it's showing starting at 6:20:34 all the way to 9:46:35. It's showing from the cell tower in the sector of Alameda.
You said 6:24 or 9:20?
I'm sorry, 9:20:34.
So roughly 20-minute period at Alameda?
Roughly 20 minutes, correct.
Well, before we get too far along, does anybody remember what they said? Because I believe it was when he first went out of the property that her phone made an orientation change, and then he called her. Right there is, I believe, where it happened. So when you go back, that's I think what you're looking for.
Moving over to page 27, what is this map?
This is just going to be a zoomed in picture from the previous one, just showing the same time frame, just showing a little bit more zoomed in from the cell tower in proximity to Alameda.
At 9:20:34, what if anything happens on the defendant's phone?
At this time, Chris Wilson calls Alex at 9:20:34. Shows for 131 seconds, and we got this data from his CDR since it does not show on either one of his extractions. And during that time, Claude CB Row at 9:21:36 calls, but Alex does not answer it.
And again, his phone was pinging back at his house in Fairfax at that time period, correct?
That is correct.
You see the blue and green box? Tell the jury what's happening.
I think when CB Rowe called, that's how they knew where CB Rowe was and that he was not at the property, so he could not have been the one that killed them.
With Alex's Suburban at this point.
So at 21:22, which that's military time, it's going to be 9:22. Green is going to show vehicle movement, and blue is going to show transmission shifting.
And is that consistent with the OnStar data at 9:22:49 of him arriving in Alameda?
It is.
And And on page 28, is that data point that you just referenced?
That is correct, 9/22/39.
Thank you, those of you who are leading. I appreciate your being here.
It does 9/22/39 to 9/32/14. We're showing approximately 195 steps taken on his phone.
At 9/24/13, what, if anything, does the defendant phone reflect?
He calls Libby Murdaugh, which would be his mom, shows 20 seconds long. That's from his CDRs because it's not on either phone extraction.
That would be the landline at Alameda.
That's correct.
After that, is there another missed call from Rogan to Paul?
There is at 9:26:06 p.m.
And then at 9/31/44, is that the first backlight activity on Maggie's phone since that time period you testified earlier about 9:07?
That is correct.
At 9:34, around that same time, is there any communication on Maggie's phone around the time of that backlight activity?
There is at 9:34:14. Rogan Gibson sends an iMessage to Maggie Murdaugh saying, tell Paul to call me. And that shows unread.
Never read?
Never read.
Do we also have backlight activity associated with a missed call to Maggie's phone?
We do at 9:34:20.
They can indeed, Annie.
Up here at 9:34 to 9:36:20, it says Maggie Murdaugh's iPhone backlight. Is that backlight off?
That's going to be backlight off.
Just the off is missing from the words.
That's correct.
9:35 to 9:45, 10-minute period. Is there any activity on Alex's phone?
It's showing approximately 60 steps taken on his phone during that time frame. And also, as you see on the right-hand side, Paul and Maggie's phones are locked. It's referenced with the lines and the color coordination on the right-hand side.
And those lines have been continuing through the past few
And they're
days.
continuing, correct.
We have some orange and purple boxes. Quickly tell the jury what those are.
So the orange color is going to be that system startup for previous testimony from Falkowski. And then the pink is going to be engine running propulsion.
Really, Lorna?
Another missed call from Rogan to Paul.
There is at 9:42:17. There's a missed call. And then we have Alex's Suburban showing device connection at 9:42:49, which is consistent with the data.
All right.
Telemetry.
Suburban's leaving Alameda around this time.
That is correct. 9:43:18. We show it starting at 2 miles an hour.
We have some additional telemetry consistent with him leaving.
We do.
Is there any activity on Maggie's phone at this point?
So at 9:44:04 to 9:45:04, it shows that her backlight was off.
And is there a missed call associated with that backlight activity or around the same time?
Yes. Maggie Murdaugh received a call from, it's going to show as PA in the phone extraction, which is it's Alex's number, and it shows missed.
And was that call missing from Alex's phone extraction?
It was missing from both phone extractions.
Going down to 9:46:35, what, if any, activity do you see?
It shows that Alex Murdaugh called Paul Murdaugh. It shows 18 seconds long. That's with the connection time.
Really?
And that is based off of Alex's CDRs. It does not show in either extractions.
9:47:23, what?
I didn't realize he called Paul too. Did you guys know that? I did not know he called Paul. I knew he called Maggie, and I figured he was covering that he called Maggie because he deleted those calls. Didn't realize he had called Paul. And I'm wondering, yes, they did take Buster's phone, and I'm wondering, because they had Paul and Buster's phone, if that is possibly some of the newer evidence they have on the Stephen Smith case. They haven't said that, But that's kind of what I'm kind of wondering if that's going to come out later. Okay, I didn't remember him calling Paul.
Alex sends a iMessage to Maggie stating, "Call me, babe," and that shows unread Maggie Murdaugh's extraction.
Do we see some backlight activity around the time of that text message, that unread text message?
We do, a couple seconds.
We have a map here. Just generally, what does this reflect?
We do. This is going to reflect the coverage area of the cell tower between Moselle and Alameda.
And this is whose phone?
This is going to be Alex Murdaugh's phone. This is going to be his Verizon records, not location data from the phone.
Moving towards the direction of Moselle?
That is correct.
Additional maps consistent with that as testified to by Matt Wild?
That is correct. It's showing coverage area.
At 9:52:15, what the activity is on Knox phone?
So at 9:52:15, Alex Murdaugh sends an iMessage to Chris Wilson saying, "Call me if up."
Just around the time where he's running 80 miles an hour?
That's correct. 9:51:43 is when we have the 80.16 mile per hour.
Uh-huh.
Moving over to the next page, is there any further activity?
Alex ends up receiving a call from Chris Wilson at 9:52:59. Shows 42 seconds long with connection. That is also not on either extraction. And at 9:53:55, he receives another call from Chris Wilson. Shows 123 seconds. And that is on his CDRs, but not on either phone extraction.
Now this is interesting. From 9:56 to 10:06, there's 231 steps here on his phone.
And then from at about 9:56:57, what if any activity do you see on Alex's phone?
So from 9:56:57 to 10:06:57, it shows that Alex Murdaugh traveled approximately 231 steps traveled during that time.
And that is when he got back to the house. Right? I know, isn't it creepy that he says babe? I don't know why that seems so creepy when you look at him. It's like, ugh.
What time?
9:56:57 to 10:06:57.
So remind the jury what time the 911 call was.
It was 10:06:14.
At 9:57 and 9:58, what activities reflected on Paul's records?
So Rogan Gibson calls Paul Murdaugh, shows 4 seconds, and that's based off of CDRs. And then at 9:58:35, Rogan sends a text message to Paul stating, "Yo."
And that hits Paul's phone?
That is correct. It shows unread from his phone extraction.
We have a bunch of green and blue boxes. Is this more telemetry data from the Suburban?
This is, the green's going to represent drives, and blue is going to represent some kind of gear shifting with the vehicle.
But the GM OnStar data reflects what, about 10 on the dot?
It reflects him pulling into the driveway at 4147 Moselle Road.
Okay, hold on. I did not understand this at first. All right. Because there was a lot of talk about this and it was really confusing. So he said the green is parked. What did he say? So that it's going, basically it's going in and out of park and gear. Park and gear. Park and gear. Okay. And it's like at 2236, we've got parked, 36, 38, 17, and then here, this one goes into gear at 22. Oh, I see. So 22:01:17 goes into gear, and then it goes back again. So those are the changes that it makes. Okay, got it.
Two calls stating yo.
And that hits Paul's phone.
That is correct. And
Red.
it shows unread from his phone extraction.
We have a bunch of green and blue boxes. Is this more telemetry data from the Suburban?
This is, the green's going to represent drives, and blue is going to represent some kind of gear shifting with the vehicle.
But the GM OnStar data reflects what, about 10 on the dot?
It reflects him pulling into the driveway at 4147 Moselle Road, the main entrance.
Where did the Suburban go first?
Suburban went directly to the house, bottom left.
It didn't go to the kennels first, it went to the house first?
That is correct.
And what time does it arrive at the house? Or what time right there in that map? That's what, the map at the top?
That's what the time that it pulls into the driveway.
Sorry. 1 second.
And according to Alec, the only thing he cared about was that his phone and Maggie's phone were not traveling at the same time.
At 10:03:36 p.m., there's two entries around that time. Can you tell the jury what any activity you see as it relates to Maggie's phone?
So Alex Murdaugh calls Maggie Murdaugh's phone at 10:03:58, and backlight is on associated with that.
And then starting about 10:04:08, what don't we see for the time period?
So from 10:04:08 to 10:46:40, there is a gap in activity. I don't see any activity on Maggie's phone at all through the Knowledge C database.
At 10:05:06, what, if anything, does the data reflect?
It reflects Alex's Suburban leaving the main house based on the GM data.
Going over to page 35. Is this one of your cast maps?
Yes, it is. It's 10:05:06, and it's showing the time the Suburban starts to leave down to the kennels.
And going to the next map, what time is that?
Next map's going to be 10:05:57. That's the arrival time at the kennels.
According to that GPS location data.
Yes, sir, from GM and OnStar.
What's that time again?
It's going to be 10:05:57.
Down at the bottom of the page, what time is the 911 call?
10:06:14.
How many seconds is that from the time that the Suburban arrives at the kennels and he calls 911?
Roughly 20 seconds.
20 seconds between when he pulls back up to the kennels and he calls 911. Is there any time to get out and check pulse or do anything? Does anybody remember the video in the car? Seriously?
Seconds.
That's correct.
Do you recall the defendant's statements to law enforcement shortly after the crime? That he went over and checked the bodies and that sort of thing?
I do.
What, if anything, in his statements to law enforcement did the defendant say about what he did when he arrived at the scene?
The defendant stated that he went and checked on Paul and Maggie to check the bodies.
From the moment the Suburban arrived at the kennels, how long did it take for that 911 call to be made?
Less than 20 seconds.
Another call from Rogan to Paul that never be answered.
That is correct. 10:08:27. Never answered.
At 10:11:54, what happens?
This is when Alex Murdaugh was on the 911 call, stated he was going to go get a gun. This was at 10:11:54. This is when the Suburban is showing leaving the kennels.
And down at the bottom of page 36, we see another map. What does that reflect?
That's going to be 10:13:54.
Good night, Annie. You get some
And on the next
rest.
page is going to show the map. That's when his Suburban left the main house going back to the kennels.
That's 2
What
minutes.
time does the location data reflect that the Suburban arrived back at the kennels?
10:14:30 is when it's going to reflect driving back to the kennels. Or approximately, this is when he's coming into the view of the kennels.
And then what time does the
Oh, thank you, Joyce. Thank you so very much. You are more than welcome. I'm so glad you came by. It's so nice of you. Thank you so very much. I need to do a little, or take a little break, y'all. We'll do a little flashy dance. There we go. We haven't seen him for a while. Thank you, Joyce. Good night, Annie. Good night.
911 call in?
So the 911 call is going to end at 10:17. And then the step data is what 10:16:37 p.m. is referring to. That's going to be when his step data ended. I believe it was 594 steps taken.
After the 911 call, does the defendant's phone reflect any activity?
It does. It shows him calling Randy Murdaugh. It shows 16 seconds long with the connectivity time. And that's based off his CDRs. It was not found on either extraction. Then also we have a 10:18 where he's sending a text message to Randy saying, please call me emergency.
Is there step activity around this time on Alex's phone?
There is 10:18:53 to 10:28:05. We're showing approximately 525 steps taken during that time frame.
Good night, Lori.
Does Paul's backlight come on again at 10:18?
We're
It does,
almost
10:18:08
done.
to 10:18:20. We're showing backlight.
Was that after the 911 call had ended?
No. I'm sorry, yes. Yes, it was.
Yes, it was.
Yes, it was. So 10:17 is when the 911 call ended. This would have been at 10:18:08. So this would have been right after.
And the last text that hit Paul's phone was from whom?
Rogan Gibson. I believe it said yo.
Paul's phone still hitting, of course, at the kennel location.
That is correct. This is going to be off of his iPhone location data.
Where was Paul's phone found again, according to your knowledge of the investigation?
It was found on Paul's rear end, facing up.
Top of page 39, we have a map. What does that reflect?
This is going to reflect Verizon records for Alex Murdaugh, starting at 10:19 all the way to 11:18. And it's just showing the sector it was pinging off of. And that's in the area of Moselle Road.
All right, we have a range of times there from the 10-ish hour to the 11-ish hour p.m. without being there.
That is correct.
Does Alex's phone reflect a couple of calls that were not on his extraction, but in the CDRs?
It does.
To what people?
It's going to be to Randy Murdaugh, John Marvin, and then Rogan Gibson, and then Christy.
At 10:20:08, what, if any, activity does Paul's phone reflect?
So Paul's phone shows a display on screen auto lock. It's been locked. It's just documenting a auto lock.
Display on auto lock?
Mm-hmm.
And now, auto lock can be consistent with what, according to your understanding?
According to my understanding is that auto lock could be, it doesn't recognize like a face, so automatically locks, or it could be just hitting like on the iPhone, the power button on the side.
And what was the last text that hit Paul's phone again? Who was it from?
Rogan Gibson.
And what does the defendant do just seconds later?
calls Rogan Gibson.
Was that on the Dillon Hightower extraction?
It was not on the Dillon Hightower extraction or the second one.
You mentioned before that there was a group text about Mr. Randolph's health. And when did the defendant finally read that text?
On the following day, so that'd be June 8th, 2021.
At 10:22:09, was there a text that the defendant read?
There was 10:22:09. He received a group text message from Michael Gunn and a few people saying she brought the heat from Miami boys, and it was read the same night at 10:38:42 p.m. An associated picture is below.
The 10:24 and the 10:25 hours. What, if anything, does the phone reflect?
Alex tries to call.
See, now I wondered about that. All of that happened before anybody got there. So he was on the phone, off and off the phone with emergency people, told her, well, I've got to go call my family, blah, 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 blahs. And then all this other activity happened. And then the deputy gets there. That's interesting. See, that's where I didn't understand all of that the other day whenever I was watching this. And yes, he did carry a gun, but I think it was a pistol. I think he always carried a pistol in his car, Lorna.
Rogan, and then he sends an iMessage stating, call me. And then he attempts to do a FaceTime, and this is going to be the first log that we see on his phone records is going to be this FaceTime call with Rogan on his extraction for the day of June 7th, 2021.
Multiple attempts to contact Rogan.
That's correct.
At what time does law enforcement arrive on the scene?
Approximately 10:25 is when the first deputy arrived on scene.
10:25.
That's correct.
You see step activity around this time on Alex's phone?
We do. So we had a group of step activity end at 10:28:54, and then we had a new group start at 10:28:54 that goes to 10:37:27. It's showing 320 steps traveled approximately.
And does the defendant's phone reflect any phone activity after that?
It reflects 10:29:17 a call to Randy that shows he answered 42 seconds long. That's also not on the extraction. And then a FaceTime with Rogan at 10:30:31 that does show on the extraction.
That was attempted FaceTime.
That's correct. I believe in previous testimony, Rogan said he was asleep during the time.
Moving on to page 41.
This is going to be a Paul Murdaugh Verizon Records. This is just going to show the cell to the tower and then just the location. And you can see Moselle Road within it.
There was some talk in testimony that FaceTime call was like a butt call kind of thing. That's what they tried to play that off as, like a butt call or something. Like he hit that button and he because he had called Rogan before. So then like he accidentally tried to call him and accidentally FaceTimed him.
This is a 10:34 time period.
Is there a display on activity on Paul's phone, but also a phone call from Nolan Tootin around that time?
That is correct. Around 10:34, it's showing display on and then a Nolan Tootin phone call.
And then finally, what time does Paul's phone finally die?
Paul's phone finally dies at 10:34:24 p.m. on June 7th, 2021.
Almost 2 hours after the killer video.
That is correct.
Maggie's phone stays locked until when?
The following day, June 8th, around 1:10 p.m. when the investigators find it.
Is this the day that Buster and them got moved to the back of the room? Because I'm looking for him here and I'm not seeing him. I am not seeing Buster in the family. It almost looks like that might be the girlfriend way back there. No, there's the girlfriend. Where's Buster? There's the girlfriend right there. So no Buster here? Interesting.
That is correct.
I don't know what you mean, Sharon. So long before Paul's phone was recovered. Oh, because nobody had the password, Sharon. Nobody could get into his phone, and they, with iPhones, you can't just call iPhone and say, we need to get into this phone. A whole bunch of rigmarole has to be done, and iPhone won't let them have it. They refuse. Apple won't let them have access. It's proprietary information, and they won't let them get in there, because they might get some of the proprietary coding and all of that stuff. Oh, and this is the text. We've got the text next.
I'm going to show you a couple of exhibits. We're almost done, and everybody's hungry. I'll show you what's been marked as 523. If you're to this trial, states 523. Do you recognize that?
I do.
And tell the jury just where that's from, please.
This is going to be a text message I retrieved from one of the Cellbrite extraction reports. It's going to be from Paul to Alex.
Your Honor, this time I'd offer states 523 into evidence.
Your Honor, we would review the previous objections, have no additional objections. Or 403.
I see the exhibit.
The judge asks to see it, and the defense is upset about the whole 404 thing, which we've gone back and forth with on this the whole time. Oh, there's Buster. Buster is now right back here next to his girlfriend, you guys. Must have been in the potty or something. Oops.
I'm going to show 523. And this is a text from which person to which person?
So this is going to be from Paul Murdaugh, and it's going to be it says voicemail. That's going to refer to Alex. This is obtained from his phone. It's going to be the owner. So it's going to be Paul to Alex.
And what's the date?
The date is going to be May 6, 2021 at 10:52:13 a.m.
They talked about this today.
And what does it say?
It says, I am still in EB because when you get here, we need to talk. Mom found several bags of pills in your computer bag. This is again from Paul to Alex.
On May 6th.
May 6th.
States 553. See if you recognize this exhibit.
Okay. I do.
Tell me what that is.
This is going to be some searched items that I obtained from Maggie Murdaugh's extraction report.
Your Honor, this time I'd offer States 553, I believe, without additional objection.
No additional objections.
Admit it.
Yeah, so she was using her phone to look up some stuff.
And tell the jury what this exhibit is, please.
So this is going to be Google searches. Far left, you're going to have a timestamp. The source, which is going to be Safari, that's for Apple. And then the value is going to be the searched item. And on May 26, 2021 at 11:21 p.m., Maggie searched green gel pill P30. She also searched 11:20 p.m. a green gel pill P30, white pill 30 on one side RP. And if you look to the right, you're going to see a column that says deleted. That one is showing yes has been deleted. And then if we go down to row number 4, it's going to be May 6, 2021 from Safari, white pill 30 on one side RP, and that's also shown deleted.
Okay, so that was May 6th when she did that, and then she deleted them. And then on May 26th, she looked for the green ones.
Could you slide it down just a little bit? I just want to make sure there's not another entry. Okay.
Being very thorough, Mr. Hot Data Guy. What are these two court clerks doing right here? They were showing each other's phone messages.
I'll show you what's been marked as States 556 and see if you recognize this exhibit.
I do.
And tell just generally what is this?
This is going to be a text message thread between Alex Murdaugh and Russell Lafitte.
And at the time, where did Russell Lafitte work again, to your understanding?
Palmetto State Bank.
And Your Honor, this time I would offer States 556, I believe, without additional objection.
No additional objections beyond the 434 objections previously ruled upon.
See the exhibit.
I don't remember this one. Oh, we're waiting on the defense to look at it.
All right, I'm gonna put States 556 up on the screen. And again, tell the people on this text and the time and what it says.
So this is going to be a text from voicemail, which is going to be Alex Murdaugh's phone, to Russell Lafitte. It was sent on June 3rd, 2021 at 3:22 p.m. This is from Alex stating, I need to extend farm credit line another $600,000. My dad will sign also if needed. How much turnaround will that take? And again, that's from Alex to Russell Lafitte on June 3rd, 2021.
Show you two final exhibits, states 554 and 555, and you recognize those.
I do.
And where were those found?
These are found from Maggie Murdaugh's iPhone extraction.
Your Honor, this time I offer 554 and 555 into evidence, I believe without objection.
You're admitted.
I don't think so, Sharon. I really don't.
States 554, who is that?
This will be Maggie Murdaugh and her sister.
Maggie's on the left. I don't think I saw these pictures. I must have been doing something else.
States 555, who is that?
This could be Buster Murdaugh, Maggie Murdaugh, and Paul Murdaugh.
Thank you, Special Agent. Please answer any questions the defense may have.
Ladies and gentlemen, we break for lunch now. For an hour and 15 minutes.
Okay. Woo! We did it. We did it, y'all. And it's time for me to stop. I did have to take something for my head, so it is now starting to be like, I'm getting tired. Thank you guys for joining me for this and going through this with me. Yeah, I know. I got a lot more out of it this time doing this with you guys. So thank you so much for the patience and for going through it. And because when they were going through it, it was like, man, I don't know. You know, even though I would stop it and start it, there was a lot of things that didn't make sense to me. And now after hearing a lot more of the testimony and then going back and looking at the timeline, it really does. If you think about it, that's what the jury is going to be doing, right? So I know they thought John Grisham was in court today. Evidently, he was not in court today. Someone said, no, that's my brother. That guy looks, that's my brother-in-law. He looks just like John Grisham. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Shara. Glad to see you. Glad to see you. Okay. Thank you for bringing this up, Chels, because they did say today the defense said they're going to rest on Monday. I have 2 more witnesses they want to bring up. I think 2 or 3. And then they're going to rest on Monday. And then they'll have, you know, the closing arguments, possibly. And the defense wanted to do 2 people doing the closing. And the judge was like, yeah, I don't think so. So we'll see how that goes. Thank you guys so much. We may have this go to jury next week. Maybe. I'm thinking next week. The trial that never ends, right? Y'all have a wonderful, wonderful weekend. I will see you on Sunday. Tomorrow's another chat. Don't forget to get your comments in on the chats because you get your name in the pot for a drawing. I love y'all. Have fun today. Good night.